All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Thursday, May 29th. Folks, it has been quite the day in the equity markets. We have a lot of different headlines coming up, or that we've had throughout the day. We got a lot of different earnings coming up in about 15 minutes that we will be getting to. We have Dell, we have Ulta, we have Costco. That's a big one, especially for retailers, and especially to see what they say about tariffs. UiPath, Mrvl, Zscaler. So we got some cybersecurity, got a bunch of semis, makeup, retailers, bunch of different stuff we got going on. So this is going to be a pretty important market close as we kind of round out all the earnings that we have for Q1. And the broader markets kind of not only went flat, but went down. A lot of names flat. NVIDIA barely holding on to some green. I mean, it's up 3% right here, but it was, closing in on 145 at one point. Now it's back to 138. You got Hoodie, red on the day, down about 2%. Tessie basically flat below 360. It was at 368 last night. Palantir 122. That's down at 1%, kind of consolidating that 120 range. Google down a little bit. I mean, pretty much everything's been flat. CRM, Salesforce down 3%. Nothing super, super exciting today. ELF was up 30%. Now it's up 23%. But overall, been a relatively flat to red day. S&P 500 still up 0.4, which is nice in that 590 range, but not up as much as it was before. Now, why is that happening? Well, right before I went live, about 20 minutes before, we got this notification because the White House is not going down without a fight. A United States appeals court has reinstated Trump's Liberation Day tariffs after removing them yesterday. There's a lot of different ways that we talked about this morning for Trump to be able to impose the tariffs that he got appealed yesterday or got repealed yesterday. Section 122 is one of them. That's not the perfect way to do it, but nonetheless, there are different mechanisms for him to get this through. And that's what we've got going on right now. So based on that happening, I mean, markets are not really tanking, but the markets are saying, hey, maybe that get out of jail free card that we had around tariffs are not necessarily going away. And as a result, that's some of the pain that we're seeing right now in the markets. Let's get an update on that right here, and then we'll keep going from there.
It was the first meeting between the two men that we know of since 2019. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt gave a little bit of a readout from the White House side just earlier this afternoon. Take a listen.
The president did say that he believes the Fed chair is making a mistake by not lowering interest rates, which is putting us at an economic disadvantage to China and other countries. And the president's been very vocal about that, both publicly and now I can reveal privately as well.
And Jerome Powell did meet with Trump. So not only did they talk a lot about tariffs and what they're doing with that, but Jerome Powell privately met with President Trump, and the press secretary basically saying that Trump told him privately, hey, it's time to cut rates. Will Jay Powell listen? Who knows? But they did meet today as well.
That readout from Leavitt coming just after we got a full readout from the Fed side as well, which Leavitt did say the White House agreed with. The Fed saying in its statement that the two men discussed economic developments, including for growth, employment, and inflation, and that Chair Powell did not discuss his expectations for monetary policy, except to stress that the path of policy will depend entirely on incoming economic information. So looking at both of these statements side by side here, both men really sticking to their guns. The president telling the Fed chairman privately what he said publicly, that he believes not cutting rates is a mistake. And then the Fed chairman, of course, sticking to the Fed's dual mandate, saying it's required by law that they will remain data dependent and focused on both sides of that mandate. Mike.
Yeah, Megan, thank you. So each one essentially reasserting what they've been saying, and maybe it's been somewhat diffused.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Jay Powell got called to the principal's office. Here's the statement that the Fed put out today. At the president's invitation, Chair Powell met with the president today at the White House to discuss economic developments, including for growth, employment, and inflation. Chair Powell did not discuss his expectations for monetary policy, except to stress that the path of policy will depend entirely on incoming economic information and what that means for the outlook. Obviously, Powell does not want to tell markets that we're having, meaningful conversations around the trajectory of monetary policy. That's not legal for them to do, but nonetheless, Trump, based on what Caroline Leavitt said, did tell Powell that it's time to cut rates. Finally, Chair Powell said that he and his colleagues out in the FOMC will set monetary policy as required by the law to support maximum employment and stable prices, and will make sure that the decisions are based solely on careful, objective, and non-political analysis. I would do anything to be in the room to just listen to how that conversation would go. I mean, that would, I wonder if when he walked in, did he say, hey, Mr. Too Late Powell? Like, I really wonder how that conversation played out. But look, is that going to make a dent in terms of the Fed probabilities? There are some people saying that this is going to give us a better chance for a June rate cut. The probability is now 5.6% versus 2.4%. So we did get a 3% increase on the June cut. I don't think we're still going to get that June cut at all. But who knows? Maybe Trump and Powell had some level of an exchange that could happen. Yeah, quote unquote, they didn't talk about monetary policy. It's like at the end of the day, we know that's the only reason that he got invited to the Oval Office in the first place. Renee says the UK got Legend today. Awesome. Yeah. So Robinhood also announced that June 30th is going to be their token event. So very cool for that. We'll be covering that live when it happens. And yeah, if you're in the UK, you probably got access to Legend as well. Here's Tom Lee. Here's what he had to say earlier today about the state of these markets and kind of how to think about what's going on with this tariff back and forth within the district appeal and the federal courts that are blocking and then not blocking the tariffs that we have going on.
The market from rallying.
It's a little bit of both. I mean, I think in the near term, of course, the visibility on tariffs has gotten messier because now we have the judicial system weighing in on what can be done and the response from the White House. But because I think the scope of what can be accomplished with tariffs has actually shrunk, it means when we think outside the next couple of months, I think that ultimately it's pushing us closer to a resolution because now the bid ask between like what other countries might accept versus what the White House is trying to achieve is actually shrinking. And that gets us closer to the end game. So I think this is actually a net positive for stocks. And I can understand why markets are confused, but to me, I think the equity risk reward is still better today than it was in February 2025 when the S&P was at its old highs.
Right. So, I mean, in particular, do you look at the chip rally? Do you look at NVIDIA, which is, for what it's worth, kind of coming back down to earth after that big rally on the heels of its earnings last night? I mean, is that where you would look to kind of press into, or how do you think about what the rally might look like between now and year end?
Well, I think that when markets really believe the tariff sort of story and saga is behind us, I think it's going to be a very big cyclical rally. So I'd be expecting industrials and financials and tech, especially the washed out tech, which includes the Mag 7, to really lead. But I also think that would include small caps because small caps have really been hammered by all this economic uncertainty. And so once that visibility returns, and then we think about 2026, and that's probably when the Fed is, more dovish than they are now. That's a tailwind for risk assets. So I actually think, weakness here should be bought, and I'd still be buying dips.
We got a combination. We know all of Wall Street's really just reading fund strat, Tom. We get that. But they also sometimes publish their own stuff. So we got kind of a collection of a lot of comments this morning. Barclays said this, and I thought this was an interesting take, and then you can respond or not. It is not clear this is a catalyst for a sustained new risk on, given the complications it could pose for tariff revenues, the tax bill, and the bond market. And the point I think they're trying to make is the tariffs are supposed to bring in all this money that could influence how the tax bill ends up. And of course, that could influence the stock market. So if the tariff money goes away, even temporarily, does that impact overall DC tax policy and thus the equity market?
Well, I would chalk that up to another piece of a wall of worry. Over the last couple of weeks, as markets rallied, our macro clients have actually been really fighting this tape. They've been very skeptical of stocks rising, and we can see it in the prime brokerage data where gross is actually high, but net is low, meaning hedge funds are shorting this rally. And we know there's still a lot of cash on the sidelines. So investors are looking for excuses for the market to fall. I mean, I'd say even that interpretation from Barclays is just another good example. I mean, we didn't want high tariffs. Now someone's arguing that if tariffs are lower, it's bad for the fiscal situation. I almost think someone's trying to say heads I lose, tails I lose. But at the end of the day, if we get a tariff resolution, that's good for stocks. And I think companies survive this gauntlet of terror. That's why multiples should be higher next year.
Yeah, look, I would agree. The other thing that's interesting, again, we shared that chart this morning of the earnings growth now that NVIDIA is done. So we pretty much have all the aggregated earnings growth for Q1. And it's 13.4%. Market thought we would get 11%. 13.4 versus 11% is a hell of a beat in terms of aggregate earnings. And it at least begins to make you understand why the S&P could trade at about 22 times currently right now. Fed's Goolsbee also said today at a policy conference, if tariffs are removed by a deal or otherwise, we could return to a situation where rates can come down. It's almost like they're not even sugarcoating it. They're explicitly saying, hey, if there is some way that rates come down or some way that tariff rates come down, then we will allow interest rates to come down. And maybe that's what Powell told Trump today as well, saying, hey, if you cut the tariffs, I'll cut the rates. And who knows, dude, maybe Trump comes out with some statement later and Trump's like, reducing the 10% universal tariff to like 7.5% or whatever, just something to get Powell happy to maybe get that cut, if not in June, but in July. And maybe that's how we resolve the situation. But as of now, everyone is still going to be waiting to see what Powell does and how Trump ultimately navigates what's going on with these tariffs. But again, the breaking news this morning is it looks like we have tariffs back on based on a U.S. District Court of Appeals that has reinstated the Liberation Day tariffs after removing them yesterday. We don't have confirmation on if they're going to be enforced in the same way. I'm sure we'll get those details later in the day. But that is the headline that we got as we got into the close. So there you go. All right, earnings after the bell. Let me know which one you own. We got Costco, Dell, Mrvl, Ulta, Path, Zscaler. And then we have a couple others as well. NetApp, NTAP. That's a software play. Some of you guys might own it. Some of you guys may not. $20 billion company. And then ESTC. Is this the search company? ESTC, I think it is. This one, yeah, Elastic. Yeah, it's an enterprise search company. Okay, so Elastic, this one as well. That is a $9.6 billion company. We have their earnings later today. Those are going to be the earnings that we look at. All right, I see a lot of Dells in the chat. I see some Zscalers. I see some Paths. Kathy did sell a ton of her Path a while ago after loading up. Are we finally getting a split out of Costco? That would be exciting to see if we could buy Costco for like $100 again, if they do a little 10-for-1 split. Probably not going to do it, but still. Costco year to date, by the way, what's Costco's performance? About 2 minutes into the market closes. Costco year to date is up 10%. So NVIDIA now year to date, is it still outperforming NVIDIA? NVIDIA year to date is 0.65%. So Costco is still outperforming NVIDIA. By the way, for everyone asking what's going on with NVIDIA, why didn't it hold its pump? I think it's just based on people selling. People took some profits here. So at 143.84, tried to go higher. Didn't have the momentum. I think it's very fair for NVIDIA to be stuck in this range, even for another couple months. Earnings were good. There were obviously some issues in the earnings in regards to gross margins and guidance that I think they'll be resolved over the coming months. But option sellers win once again. It continues to be a covered call market. I mean, you could have sold calls at even 145 or 150. Like, you didn't have to be super aggressive at 160, 170. You also didn't have to be at 135. And you could still collect some decent premium and just bet against the stock having an insane move, because it's not 2024 again. So I think NVIDIA will be higher than 140 towards the end of the year, but that doesn't mean it has to happen all at once. And I think that's what we're seeing currently right now as well. All right, here we go. We've got some earnings. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It is Thursday, almost near the end of the week, May 29th, 4 p.m. The stock market is now closed. All right, we got some earnings to get into. By the way, CoreWeave also took a dump, which is reasonable. CoreWeave down 9%. I mean, this thing was up 200%. It's still up like 187% over the past month. So chasing this stuff got to 130. You know, sometimes the chase ends up running out of steam. And CoreWeave right here down about 9% on the day. NVIDIA ends up 3.2%. By the way, because it's Thursday, we get money market inflows. So put in the chat if you think it increases or decreases. All right, here we go. I got the number. Put in the chat. Increase or decrease. What do you think for money market inflows? And then we'll take a look at those numbers. Apple was down about 0.23% of the day. Microsoft was up about 0.29%. Google was flat on the day, down about 0.29%. S&P 500, 589. That was up about 1/3%. It was at 596 last night. CrowdStrike, 458. That was down about 2%. Nike, flat on the day, down 0.5%. Netflix, down about 2%. I mean, pretty much everything was, again, relatively flat. Rocket Lab, down 5%. Rocket Lab's up like 20% for the week. So that's, I mean, not that big of a deal that it's down in that $27 range. Even Robinhood was touching 67 this morning. Now it's a 63.95, which is not too crazy. MicroStrategy as well, 370. That's up 1.7%. Bitcoin, here's some evidence that risk-on momentum is, at least for today, dying out a little bit. Bitcoin from 110 to 106. So you do have some people that are taking profits on maybe some of the more riskier parts of the market. NVIDIA right here after hours down about 0.14% currently right now. All right, money market inflows. The answer is a decrease by $19.8 billion. Over the past week, money market funds have decreased by $19.8 billion. That money either went into real estate, crypto, stocks, other asset classes, gold, Bitcoin. 6.95 trillion down from about 6.97 trillion last week. Still basically $7 trillion on the sidelines. that eventually is going to go somewhere and hopefully not stay there. And if Powell cuts anytime soon, then we know exactly where it can go. But as of now, Powell is not cutting. Mrvl after hours. All right, so let's get ready for earnings. I think we should be getting a lot of these numbers pretty soon. Costco might be at like 415-ish. Let me see if we have any of the earnings out. The 44% of you say that you own Costco, 27 Mrvl, 19% Dell, and then 10% Ulta. By the way, Palantir just partnered with Ecuador's government. Deal after deal after deal, baby. Palantir just partnered with Ecuador's government. They just posted it right now. We are proud to officially partner with Ecuador's customs agency. So there you go. I really like seeing this. We had SAP, we had Bain, we had Fannie Mae. Now we got Ecuador, SAP and Ecuador international clients for Palantir to be able to work with. So very nice to see more momentous growth in the context of go-to-market strategies for Palantir. And it's like 5 deals back to back to back. So nice to see that's happening for Palantir on today. All right, so earnings. Do we have any? Amit, are you shorting quantum after your interview with Skrelly? No, I am not. Even if you look at the puts on some of these quantum stocks, dude, the put premiums are ridiculous. Like, you have to pay a lot of money just to even, forget short it, but buy a put on it. So I'm not buying puts or shorting any of the quantum names. But yes, we did have Skrelly join the show today. It was a bit random, but he stayed on for 2 hours. And I'm going to clip it up and put it on YouTube later for anyone who missed it. But I think it was a fun discussion on quantum, Palantir, NVIDIA, Tesla, Bitcoin, all that stuff. So we got into it. All right, Costco, we don't have earnings. NetApp, we have earnings. NetApp beat by 2%, 193 versus 190 on EPS. EPS is up 7% year-over-year. Revenues up 4% year-over-year, 1.73 billion versus 1.72. NetApp beat by 2% on EPS, beat by 1% on revenue. Stock's down 5.2%. Stock is down 5.2%. Now it's down 3.8. We do have a bit of a red candle right there on NetApp. That's the first earnings that we have. Amit, did you play the clip from Fannie Mae talking about Palantir's ability? Yes, we talked about it in the morning. It was insane. Absolutely incredible. So yeah, I played that clip. Took Palantir 10 seconds, what took Fannie Mae like 60 days to do when it came to mortgages. So very, very nice to see for Palantir. Okay, so we're looking at Mrvl, NetApp, Elastic, that's up 1.1%. We'll see if they got their numbers. UiPath has been stuck at like $11 to $12 for almost 2 years at this point. So this one I'd be very curious about to see if they get any breakout. Costco right here, still at 1,000, not really moving. We get most of these at 405. So, oh, there you go. There goes Dell. There goes Dell. There goes Dell. It pumped 117. Now it's at 3%. Still trying to hold on. Let's see if we got some numbers. SMCI had a decent earnings outside of the guidance retracement, but one could argue that had to do more with China than they had that $20 billion deal with the Saudis. So like SMCI was able to at least hold on to some of their momentum. Dell, they have the same issue as SMCI. Their margins suck. So they really need to show growth to get the market excited. Dell right here, looks like we're getting a pump, 5.9%. Little pumpy pump. Little pumpy pump on Dell. Wow, she's actually moving. Dude, she's like really moving. That looks like a strong green candle. If that reverses, that would be a hell of a head fake. I don't have the numbers yet, but the numbers have to be out. And she's actually moving up 7%. We'll keep NVIDIA and SMCI in line as well. HP also, which does what Dell does, that one tanked yesterday. SMCI is up 2% after hours, probably because of Dell. If Dell announced like crazy demand or something that reasonably beat expectations, NVIDIA flat after hours, then that would be very bullish for the overall AI trade. Is Mrvl out? Mrvl is down 5%. Now remember, Mrvl delayed their investor day 2 weeks ago, and that caused them to take a bit of a tank. They recovered a little bit. Now it's down 5.4%. So it looks like these numbers are not the best, or maybe they are, but maybe guidance is good. I'll try to get them in a second. Ulta is up 5%. We know that Elf was up 20% today. They bought Hailey Bieber's makeup company. Estee Lauder was up 6% based on, or 5% based on that move as well. Ulta right here, another makeup company, up 5.5%. Dell's up 10%. Wow, dude. Look at Dell. Absolutely getting some momentum here. Okay, so Dell had to say something really good. This is great for the AI trade, dude. It's nice. The server companies, what it feels like, likely show that they have plenty of demand. And that's probably why we're getting some of this momentum. Trying to get the numbers real quick. Let me see. Let's see. Okay, I have Dell. Here we go. Dell missed by 8% on EPS, 155 versus 169. EPS is still up 22% year over year. Revenue's up 5% year over year, 23.3 versus 23.1. They beat by 1%. So they missed on EPS, beat by 1%. I guess guidance had to be spectacular because that is almost a 10% miss on EPS. But the market doesn't care. 9% for Dell. 9% for Dell, which is what we're seeing. And then we have Ulta earnings. Let me pull that up right here. Ulta beat by 15% on EPS, 670 versus 583. EPS is up 4% year over year. Revenue's up 4% year over year. They beat by 2% on revenue, 2.84 billion versus 2.79 billion on Ulta. I guess women are buying more makeup. Ulta right here, up 5%. Is Elf moving after hours? Elf is flat after hours. Estee Lauder after hours, that's also flat, but Ulta is up 4%. Buffett owned Ulta for like 2 months and then he sold it. So he's not in the name anymore. But you do have Michael Burry who went big on Estee Lauder. NVIDIA right here, flat after hours, and then Mrvl down 6%. Now, Mrvl's earnings, we've got a beat on the top and the bottom. 62 versus 61 on EPS. That's a beat by 2%. EPS is up 158% year over year. Revenue's up 63% year over year. My goodness. 1.895 billion versus 1.88 billion. That's also a beat by 1%. So not really impressive beats on the top and the bottom, but still pretty damn good in terms of the year over year growth numbers. And that's what you got for Mrvl. There might be a guidance thing on Mrvl. So this headline, this came out right before the earnings as well. NVIDIA and Dell Technologies to supply new Donda supercomputer to U.S. Department of Energy. I'm probably saying that word wrong. That could also be the reason why Dell's pumping more than even the earnings themselves, because the earnings are not like that crazy impressive. I didn't see guidance yet, but maybe it's a new computer or a new type of technology, supercomputer, that the U.S. Department of Energy will be using, and NVIDIA and Dell partnering together to be able to supply that. So cool. That's what we got on Dell. Let me see if I can get some more coverage on that and see if we can get these exact numbers here. And then Costco, I think we get in about 15 minutes and we'll see. Oh, we have American Eagle today as well. We have American Eagle. That is a retailer, American Eagle. Their stock down 7%. American Eagle is down 7%. All right. So that one looks like maybe the numbers weren't the best. All right, here is Dell. Let's take a look at this, and then we will keep going from there.
The company missing on earnings, but managed to beat on the top line. The drag really came from its infrastructure solutions group, which is their data center business. That pulled in about $10.32 billion, falling short of estimates. But it's the guidance for the road ahead that is bullish and pushing shares up 9%. They're calling for Q2 revenue of $29 billion at the midpoint, which is way above the street's $25 billion.
Wow. That's a big one. They're raising guidance by $4 billion for Q2. That is not bad at all, folks. Yeah, you could tell why Dell's pumping right there. I'm surprised NVIDIA's not pumping even more, but there you go. That's a hell of a beat.
Estimate on the earnings side, where they're projecting $2.25 per share versus the $2.09 consensus, also much higher. The big bump because of the $7 billion in AI server shipments they're going to do in Q2. That's more than expected, flushing nearly half of their Q1 backlog. For the full year, Dell's sticking with their revenue outlook, but bumping up their EPS target to $9.40, which is really just a stark contrast from competitor HPQ's earnings just last night. Shares up over 9% on that bullish guide.
Dude, 29 billion versus 25? Are we like, bro, that's real. I mean, is that XAI? Is that OpenAI? Like, who the hell is paying them that much money to supply these servers? It's got to be one of these AI companies, but that is incredible. So Dell, that's up. Elastic, that's down 13%, 12.97%. $9.6 billion company. This is a enterprise search company. We'll look at their earnings in a second, but that one is down 12.9%. And then Path is up 12%. There you go. Path has not pumped in so long, but Path is getting a little bit of a pump right here. Let's see if we can get the numbers. Okay, I got it. EPS beat by 10%, 11 cents versus 10 cents. EPS is still down 15% year over year. Revenue is up 6% year over year. They beat by 7%, 356 versus 332. UiPath is robotic processing automation. It's kind of like making a digital twin of your business, but then being able to literally take tasks and automate workflows internally inside of an enterprise using RPA. Not the most exciting, probably something that AI can help, but it's not really an AI story per se. And that's why the stock really hasn't gotten a lot of momentum like some of the other software AI plays. But this one, 12.5%. EPS beat was by 10%. Revenue beat by 7%. Not crazy. definitely good, especially for a stock that's been down for the past year. So that's why Path is getting a bit of a reversal. Mrvl, are we heading up? Wow, we were down almost 7%. That one's recovering. That one is almost break even, which is not too bad right here. Yeah, that one is definitely starting to come back up. Here is American Eagle earnings, and then I'll try to get some more info on Mrvl.
Q1 loss of 29 cents per share. That's a miss on estimates of 22 cents on 1.9 billion in revenue, in line with consensus. Comparable sales were down 3% and merchandise margin tumbled by 960 basis points. That drop in margin is largely from inventory write-downs, discounting, and higher product cost. American Eagle already withdrew its full year guidance, but the second quarter guidance it gave today was weaker than consensus. In a news release, CEO Jay Schottenstein called the quarter challenging and said it's disappointed by the results. John?
All right, Gabrielle, thank you. Joe.
All right, here's Mrvl. Here is Mrvl. Looks like we got a quote from the CEO as well.
The Q2 guidance, we'll say it's a beat, but it's not by much. 67 cents adjusted EPS. That's what they're projecting. Q2 revenues of $2 billion, slightly higher. So you can see the shares are now just like oscillating between negative and positive. For the data center revenue, in line for the quarter Q1. And their gross margins, that was the only thing that really stood out for me. Gross margins in Q1, 59.8, slightly less than what the street was anticipating despite the earnings beat. They did say that the momentum is being fueled by strong AI demand in data center for the second quarter guide. Keep in mind, Mrvl does design chips for AWS. Hopefully we'll hear more about that relationship because there's been some concerns. Shares now dropping almost 2%. John?
All right.
All right, so we're getting a little bit of recovery in Mrvl. Yeah, the huge increase in data center biz, 87%. You know, that data center business is very sticky. One could argue that Mrvl is the perfect company to be able to handle a sticky business like that because, you know, they're used to things that are sticky, like spider webs, given their Mrvl. So from that perspective, you could imagine seeing a massive increase in the data center business and getting a chunk of that sticky revenue. This one now starting to recover. It was down about it was down 7.2%. Now it's down 1.2% or 1.4%. So that's getting some more momentum. SMCI right here up about 0.16 after hours. Dell, not, I mean, dude, they beat by $4 billion on their guidance. Stock was up almost, 12.3%. It was touching, 125. Now it's back to 118. So that one taking a little bit of a hit as well, even though it still is green on the day. Zscaler. All right, where's Zscaler? Where is Zscaler? So Zscaler, these numbers I think are out. Zscaler, that's their ticker ZS, right? Yeah, ZS. These guys are up 5%. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we got on Zscaler. Let's see. I think their earnings are out. Palo Alto had a decent earnings. Their guide wasn't the best. CrowdStrike was still waiting for. Okay, Zscaler, 11% beat on EPS, 84 versus 76. EPS is down 5% year over year. Revenue's up 23% year over year, 678 versus 667. Revenue beat by 2%. So they beat EPS by 11%. Beat revenue by 2%. Zscaler stock is up 5%. This stock year to date, has it been a big one? Year to date, up 38%. Now it's about 43%. Yeah, I have not really paid attention to this one all year. This is the best cybersecurity name. It has to be outside of CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike year to date is up 32%. So this one is definitely winning in that cybersecurity category here right now. Where's Costco? It's 4:15. We should be getting Costco like right now. Costco up 0.32%. Costco tends to have an implied volatility of like less than 1%. So I don't really think we're going to get any big move, but I am curious to see the numbers, especially because Costco is a very important company, broadly speaking, for the entire economy. Here's the Zscaler revenue, and let me see if I can get Costco right now as well.
You have those numbers?
Hey, John, top and bottom line beat here for Zscaler, EPS of 84 cents adjusted. That was ahead of the 75 cents Street was looking for. Revenues at $678 million, also a beat. Billings came in well ahead of estimates. Now, on the guidance front, it was decent on earnings, but was a little bit light on the revenue side of things. Now, the cloud cybersecurity company did also announce a new chief financial officer. You see there, the stock got better than 3.5%. John?
All right, Costco, we got it, folks. Here we go. 428 versus 424, beat by 1% on EPS. EPS is up 13% year over year. Revenues up 8% year over year. Costco is growing the same as Salesforce. Costco, 63.2 billion versus 63.1. They basically came in line with expectations on revenue. Double beat for Mr. Costco. It's hard to say that Costco is in some, horrible economy right now. Now, is the stock a bit aggressive on its multiple? Sure. But Costco, if you own Costco stock for like the past 5 years, they're probably not selling as long as they continue to compound, and even growing at 8% of their scale is incredible. Now, Gap is down 14%. So Gap going the opposite of Urban Outfitters. Looks like these earnings were not good. I'm trying to get the numbers on these guys, but the market does not like it at all. Gap right here down 50%. Yeah, it's Steve's favorite stock. Exactly. Costco really never misses earnings. People are going to go to Costco, and their gold demand has been crazy as we've seen more people wanting to get physical gold. Gap right here down 15%. I don't know what they put up to get this bad of a reaction. American Eagle as well took away some of their guidance. All right, so I have some numbers. Net sales of $3.5 billion. We're up 2% year over year. Net income of $193 million. Store sales were flat last year, or compared to last year. The company ended the quarter with 3,500 store locations in over 35 countries. Online sales were up 6% year over year. That's just not a lot of growth. Gross margin of 41.8%. CEO says Gap Inc. delivered strong first quarter sales. We had positive comp sales for the 5th consecutive quarter with our 2 largest brands, Gap and Old Navy, winning in the marketplace. The rigor we've embedded across the organization continuing to serve us well, driving gross margin and operating margin expansion in the quarter. These results are yet another proof point that our strategy is working in this highly dynamic environment. We are optimistic yet realistic and remain focused on controlling the controllables as we build our company for long-term growth. We are focused on controlling the controllables. That's a hell of a quote. I like that. I'm gonna use that. I mean, look, Gap's taking a gap down, right? Kind of have to say it. There you go, down 15%. Obviously, some of the import tariffs are affecting them. Gap probably gets a lot of their clothes from Vietnam, Thailand, Bangladesh, etc. And so that might be having an effect on their business right here. But this is definitely going the opposite of a company like Urban Outfitters. Instead, let me know if you shop at Gap. I'm sure I shopped at Gap in the past, Old Navy when I was younger. I don't really shop there anymore, but granted, I don't really buy clothes. But Gap right here, down 15% right now. Ulta's still up 7%. Now, that was up 4%. Now it's up 7.5. Now it's up 7.5. Ulta's getting some love. Yes, we looked at Costco. They beat on the top and the bottom. Costco right here up 1.2. And Costco continuing to do its thing. By the way, we did get a partnership today that was kind of wild. Meta and Palmer Luckey, dude. Meta's getting into the U.S. defense business. Meta is not just going to become an advertising company anymore. Zuckerberg fired Palmer Luckey after acquiring his company Oculus, which was a VR startup, for $2 billion in 2014 because he supported Trump. He's been very public about this. They fired him. Now it's kind of cool to support Trump, or it's like cool to care about defense tech and all this stuff. So they're working together. And Palmer said, leveraging Meta's massive investments in XR technology for our troops will save countless lives and dollars. Meta and Anduril will join forces to collaborate on AR, VR systems for the United States military. Not a lot of people were happy about this. I mean, I think it's a cool collaboration, but you got a lot of Meta shareholders today that said, wait a second, we didn't invest in Meta to become a United States defense contractor, which is effectively what they're doing if they're helping Anduril, which is one of the fastest growing defense contractors from the technology perspective in the U.S. military, develop their tech. And so, you got some people that were pretty 50-50 on if Meta should be getting into this business, but looks like Palmer Luckey and Zuckerberg made peace, and now they will be working together. So that's what we got. This is not really bearish for Palantir. Remember, Anduril makes tech, like hardware. They use software to make their hardware. They don't really compete with Palantir. They collaborate. I mean, the whole Titan contract is Anduril and Palantir working together. But Meta, one could argue we haven't had a real use case for VR, AR outside of gaming. Like, obviously, the average person is not wearing VR headsets. So this is at least another use case for VR into the military. One could argue one of the best use cases for it. Versus just like the gaming sector. And Anduril literally is taking over that Holo contract that Microsoft got for the past 10 years that they weren't able to do much with. And it looks like they want to collaborate with Meta. So really full circle moment for Palmer Luckey. Builds a company, sells a company, gets fired from the company for his political beliefs. And now his political beliefs are kind of more mainstream and he gets to work with that company. But we probably will see more updates in the future with Meta and Anduril. And you know what? This is juicing up that Anduril IPO. I mean, when they have partnerships like this, there is going to be a lot of demand for that stock when it goes public. Meta right here, 645, up about 0.25% on the day. Costco's up about 1%. Zscaler's up 5%. Elf is flat. Ulta's up 7.6. Mrvl still down 3.4. SMCI basically flat. CoreWeave's up a little bit after hours. Elastic down 11%. And Path still up 12.8%. Dell was up almost 12%. And now it is up 4.8% currently right now. Yeah, now everyone's waiting for Elon and Altman to team up. I don't know, dude. I think Elon actually really doesn't like Sam Altman. There was that Wall Street Journal article. We didn't talk about it a lot yesterday because it was NVIDIA earnings, but apparently Elon tried to get the Saudis to include Grok or XAI in whatever data center build out that they were doing with OpenAI. And he tried to get Trump to push for this. Again, this is based on what the article said. It could be wrong, but based on the reporting, Trump was like, I don't really care that much about XAI. And Trump has his own agenda. He wants to, see the Saudis spend trillions of dollars, and whether it's OpenAI, XAI, he wants to get the deal done, especially in order to get the branding of the fact that he's getting a lot of investments into the United States. So he didn't really campaign for XAI. OpenAI ended up being the sole person in that UAE Stargate deal, which makes sense, right? You can't have too many cooks in the kitchen. So it was NVIDIA, Oracle, Cisco, and OpenAI. And then, a week later, Elon says he's leaving Doge. So I don't know if the relationship is fractured, but there is a world where it's like, I think whatever Elon wanted from Trump, he's not really getting anymore. The spending bill kind of decimated any of the Doge savings. He can't get Trump to campaign for him to include XAI into these fancy deals in the Middle East. And so now he's like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to doing my own thing. And as a result, you got Elon who's done with Doge here on the day. All right, what else do we have? Does Palmer guy have conservative views? Yes, he's a Republican. I mean, you could call him MAGA, I guess. I think he would maybe identify more with that. And when I'm saying it's more mainstream, my point is not that everyone is MAGA. My point is just like in 2016, it was like you wear that Make America Great Again hat in the United States. It's like in certain parts of the states, you were really looked at in a bad way. And now sentiment has changed. I mean, there's so many defense techs, $40 billion last year alone went into defense tech VC startups. That wasn't happening in 2016. No one cared about defending the West or building defense technology. Everyone was worried about the next big advertising product. And so that's what I mean by going mainstream. And that's why Meta is probably embracing it as well. Here are the Gap earnings, and then we'll keep going from there.
Back with those numbers, Gabrielle.
Yeah, I mean, shares are down, but it was another strong earnings beat from Gap with Q1 sales, comps, and margin all coming in above consensus. Gap reported earnings per share at 51 cents, beating expectations of 45 cents on a decent sales beat. This might be what's weighing on the stock here. Gap's guidance doesn't include the potential impact of tariffs. If current duties do remain in effect, Gap is expecting a hit of $100 million to $150 million to net operating income in the second half. I spoke with CEO Richard Dixon. He told me the company won't be implementing meaningful price increases to offset that. What he'll do is they're going to reduce China sourcing to less than 3% by the end of the year, down from less than 10. John?
Real, thank you. And don't miss Jim Cramer.
Yeah, that's not the best for Gap. If they're not including tariffs in inside of their earnings sentiment, that's obviously not good. They are probably, going to have a little bit bigger of a hit to operating income. That's why that stock is getting hit as badly. I mean, investors are completely pricing out that growth. Down 15% right here. Zscaler up 4%. Costco flat. American Eagle Outfitters down 6%. Ulta up 7%. NetApp down 5%. CoreWeave up 1%. UiPath up 10%. And then Dell up 5%. There you go. That's what we got for earnings. That's what we got for earnings. So we're basically done now. We're basically done with Q1 earnings. I mean, next week, what do we have next week? Next week is June, bro. That is crazy. We're getting into June. Next week, we have Neo, Dollar General, Lululemon, Broadcom. So you do have some big names, MongoDB, DocuSign, a couple companies here and there. The week after that, you have GameStop, but the majority of earnings are officially done, and we're not going to get real earnings until mid-July. Mid-July, we get to do this whole thing again. But, yeah. That is the end of the S&P 500 earnings season currently right now. Red Robin is up 42%. Did Red Robin have earnings today? Did Red freaking Robins have? Does anyone eat at Red Robin? Is Red Robin international or is that only in the States? RRGB. Q1 EPS of 19 cents. Wow. That's a 200% beat. Revenue, 392 million versus 395. So they missed on revenue by 3 million, but EPS, the street wanted them to lose 39 cents. They came in at positive 19 cents. There you go. 47% on Red Robin. Yeah, that's green. That is green. We had guys, what was that other stock, that bio stock that starts with an R that was up like 10,000% last month because it was up another 200% today. Do you guys remember the name for it? It was like Regen Sciences or something. I'm forgetting the ticker. But that stock was up another couple 100% today. And yeah, we are seeing, no, it's not RXRX. It's not the gaming company. Is it RGC? Yeah, RGC. RGC, this thing is at $740. Got to $824 a share. It was up 42% today. This stock, I mean, dude, like you're not going to believe this chart because why would you believe it? This is not what happens in the market. But then again, this is what happens sometimes in the market. 15,000% year to date. You could have bought this at $5 on January 21st, and you could sell it today at $740. I just want to know who the hell's buying it at these levels. Like, how is it even kind of maintaining these levels? I don't know. But this is kind of what Scully was talking about in the morning as well. Like one thing that I think he's absolutely correct on is there is froth in this market. And you can't look at something like this and say that there's not excess money that doesn't need to be here. Now, that doesn't mean we need to go down to 4,800 on the S&P, but that does mean there are some levels of caution that one could have, given this stuff is not normal. And it's not just RGC. It's the Far Coins of the world, the quantum stocks of the world, the RGCs. You got a lot of these high flyers, even Tesla, Palantir, multiples are aggressive, even though those are real companies. But it is a world in which, yes, there's a lot of bullish sentiment and there's a lot of bullish arguments, like retail buying the dip every day to the tune of $5 billion based on Morgan Stanley's research. But it also doesn't mean that chasing every stock is the best idea. I mean, even CoreWeave, dude, if you bought it out anywhere above 115, now you're bag holding. And that could go up tomorrow. But it also could find its way back down to 70, 80 because this thing was at 40 less than a month ago. So I think it is one of those things to think about as well in the context of this market. And I wouldn't short any of these either. I'd be scared to short them. So like Scully, I mean, he's got some balls of steel to be, I mean, the dude said he's going to his billionaire friends and borrowing money to be able to fuel his margin calls because he's been getting margin called because he's been short since like $5 on a lot of these quantum names that are now like 20, 30 bucks. To be able to continue piling into the shorts. I mean, you just have to have a different level of conviction to be able to do that. I don't have that, but it's pretty aggressive to be able to go after those levels. Here's an update from the White House, and here's what they're saying. I don't think Trump is live, but here's some updates on the tariff stuff we were talking about in the morning.
Megan Casella joining me now. Megan.
Hey, John, that's right. Some breaking news just in the last hour that the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit is granting the administration's request for an emergency stay. Essentially, what this means is that at least temporarily, all tariffs can remain in place in spite of that ruling just last night. Now, the counsel for the plaintiffs already out with a statement saying they believe this is merely a procedural step and that ultimately they are confident that the Federal Circuit will deny the government's motion and allow the ruling to move forward, which would mean the tariffs, at least many of them, would have to be lifted in the meantime. Now, this is all temporary. The plaintiffs have until June 5th, 1 week from today, to respond. Then the court will ultimately decide again on that longer term stay. The White House, this is a win for them, but they're also sort of seeming unbowed here, knowing that they have some other options if this one doesn't prove successful for them. Take a listen here to White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro just out here on the driveway a few minutes ago.
The court told us, they didn't all but tell us, they told us, go do it another way. So you can assume that even if we lose, we will do it another way.
So looking for other options that they know are out there if they need to find them. Then finally, John, one other piece of news here from the White House today is Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell was here meeting with the president at the president's invitation. The Fed saying in a readout after that meeting that the two men discussed growth, employment, and inflation, but that Powell did not discuss any expectations for monetary policy, except essentially to say that the Fed will remain data dependent as always and focused on its dual mandate. We also heard from the White House after that that the president told the Fed chairman personally and directly in this private meeting that he believes it's a mistake not to cut rates. So both men sort of having a chance there to air privately a lot of what we've heard from both of them publicly. John?
This tariff thing, bro, going back and forth every day. It is pretty likely, in my opinion, that that Trump will find a way to implement these tariffs. I don't know how he's going to do it, but they're not going to go down without a fight, dude. They're not going to let the courts just ban it on a 3-0 decision when, there's so many different ways you can deal with litigation to get the desired result. The question is, how long does it take, right? Like, how long does it, like, does this go back to the Supreme Court? Are the tariffs on or off in the meantime as it's going to the Supreme Court? I mean, there's so many different areas to how this plays out. I also think, gap right here down 17%, that Trump doesn't even want to impose these tariffs, but he can't lose his like leverage by illegally not being able to impose them against other countries, because then the countries will not want to negotiate as aggressively with him. So it's one of those back and forth games. S&P was basically flat today. They said, you know what? You can keep playing this. We kind of don't care. Maybe we're not going to go to all-time highs yet, but we're not necessarily going to go back down just based off this news. So there you go. That's what we got. Trump didn't really crash out today, though. He didn't go crazy on Twitter. Let me check. He didn't like tweet a bunch of stuff. Wasn't like super aggressive. Didn't go live. Yeah, he hasn't tweeted all day, bro. His last tweet was 17 hours ago. So outside of that meeting with Powell that he had in the White House, we didn't really get any other any comments from him here. Yeah, not yet. I mean, look, maybe he does. Maybe he does later. Didn't he call the courts a loser? Did he? I know the White House issued a statement of him thanking Elon for his service at Doge. So I know we saw that. But yeah, he might have called the courts a loser. Oh, here's something right here as well. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Victoria's Secret, it has been 3 days since the entire Victoria's Secret website is down. And so here's what they said on their website. We have taken down our website and some store and some in-store services as a precaution. Our team is working around the clock to fully restore operations. Camillo said he's shorting. I don't know if he's serious or not, but he said he's shorting VSCO until this gets resolved. This stock had a big move in 2023. VSCO stock is basically down 1% on the day. I don't know if anyone noticed this, but yeah, their website's been down for 3 days. That for an international brand like Victoria's Secret, the website shouldn't be down for more than 3 minutes, if not 3 hours. 3 days. Like, let me go to it right now. Victoria's Secret. Yeah, it's not working. It's not working. That's weird, right? Why do you think this is happening? That is, dude, 3 days it's a long time in the retail world. That is very weird. Now the hackers know what you've been buying of it. Oh my gosh, Victoria's Secret. All right, well, that one's that. They must have been hacked, yeah, but for 3 days? They couldn't figure the hack in 3 days? Like that's a little aggressive in my opinion. S&P 500 right here, 590. Still flat after hours. Probably a marketing, but dude, I don't know if it's marketing, bro. 3 days is a lot of days of sales. How much revenue? The Victoria's Secret revenue. They do $6 billion a year. $6 billion a year. Okay, so if we just divide that by 4, it's not a perfect way to look at it, but basically 1.5 billion a quarter. I mean, 3 days, there's only 90 days in a quarter. That's, I don't know how much of their sales are online, but that's still not the best. That's still not the best. You need to buy Amazon gift cards. Dude, I got an Amazon gift card the other day for $100. And I am so excited to spend this Amazon gift card because I'm not a spender. I don't spend my money like on material stuff. Again, like I really is my slippers, dude. I don't buy materialistic stuff. I am so excited to buy a ton of useless shit on Amazon with that $100 that I got. I don't even know what I'm going to buy, but I'm going to go on a shopping spree. I'll tell you guys once I buy some stuff. And I'm going to pig out, dude. I'm just going to get the most useless stuff for $100 and hopefully get it in 2 days. I haven't done it in so long, bro. I don't shop. I don't buy stuff. So I'm going to take that 100 and I'm going to buy something. I don't know what I'm going to buy, but I'll buy something. And I feel like I just need to be an American consumer again. Just buy useless shit. I need to help pump the economy. So that's what I'll be doing. Amazon right here, 205.7 on the day. That one was also pretty flat. All right, so a relatively tame day. Nvidia didn't really give us the move that a lot of people wanted. Still up 3%, not bad, but it wasn't like some explosion. Markets were relatively flat. We got some earnings moves after hours, some of them extreme, some of them not, but Costco did fine, up about 0.28%, and then the S&P holding nicely at 590. And then tomorrow's Friday. And after that, we have, the June is the last month of Q2. So we have one more month going into the next 2 days. And then boom, we officially begin Q3. And we go from there. TV sticker remover gadget. Yeah, I should probably do that. Okay, a lot of you guys have been asking about this, so I see some comments in the chat right here. So yes, this is a new ring. It is different from the ring you guys usually see me wear. This is the ring that I usually wear. This is a new ring, and I got this ring yesterday from my grandpa. So I think I'm replacing this one with this one. Because there's just like more sentimental value here. But apparently he's had this ring for like 40 years, maybe even longer than that. And, he's getting older. And, the thing about old people that I realize, people that are like, into their late 80s, early 90s, is that they talk about death so openly and they just joke about it. And so I was talking with him today and I was just like, what do you want to do today? And he's like, oh, I'm just waiting to go up into the air. And I'm like, bro, like, he's just like, I don't need to do it. I'm just waiting to go to heaven. Or so I'm just like, all right. Like, so, they're so openly talking about that because they're acknowledging their time is coming. And so, he's had this ring for 40 years since his marriage. They got it redone. That's why it looks a lot better. I think this is a ruby. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is real gold. And he gave this to me. So very, very, very happy and humbled to get a nice ring like this. This I got made in India just because I wanted a gold ring. And so this one he actually got me. So one of the reasons he gave it to me is because he's kind of just acknowledging that his time may be coming, and he wanted to give me something as a memory of him. So it's dark, right? Yeah, it is dark, but like it's kind of, I don't know, maybe it's a different thing with older Indian adults, but they very open because they're so religious as well, right? Like, so my grandmother, she talks about death all the time because she knows there is a God in her perspective of the Hindu version of what God or heaven looks like. And she prays every day, multiple times a day. So she's not worried about death. She's not really scared of it because she knows where she's going. She's going to see her maker, right? So she's made peace with herself. Same thing with my grandpa. So it is morbid, but they talk about it in a way that is almost inevitable. And so I'm really, you guys are gonna see me wear this ring. I'm really happy that he got me this. Also, it's a dope ring, dude. It just looks cool, dude. It looks super dope. So yeah, I'll be wearing this from now on as well. And that's what we got. So that I saw a lot of comments in the morning asking what's going on with this ring, but there was just so much stuff going on that we had to talk about. Save it for your grandson. Yeah, dude. I mean, like, this is the stuff you pass down, right? So how much are you going to sell it for? I'm not selling this. I didn't sell the Robinhood Gold card. I'm not selling this. Even though I think this is worth a little bit more than the Robinhood Gold card based on the amount of grams of gold is in here. But yeah, I'll be wearing it with a lot of pride as well. Yeah, I should do this. Take them on an FSD ride. So again, they got here yesterday. So it's, I mean, like they've been sleeping and just like getting accustomed to the house. But yeah, like I need to take them on an FSD ride. My grandma, dude, she can't stop working. So she's like downstairs, like cleaning the kitchen. And I'm like, why are you cleaning? Like, why? Like, the kitchen's not even dirty. Like, you don't even need to be. But like, she's like, it's something about older Indian women. They need to be doing something. And I'm like, no, you should just relax and watch TV or just like go for a walk. And she's like, no, I need to be cleaning. And so I think for the next 2 months, she will be doing whatever she needs to do to clean to make herself feel productive. But eventually I'm gonna have to take them on that FSD ride because that's gonna be super fun for them to see what it feels like for a car. Does your grandma cook? Yeah, dude. Like she's been begging me to eat her food all day. Like this is all she knows is cooking and cleaning. Like that's just how she grew up, right? So yeah, she's going to be occupying herself with that. And there's nothing I can say to her, dude. Like there's just, you can't say anything. Like if they want to clean, they're going to clean. That's how they feel productive. And that's what she'll be doing. So yeah, that's what we got. It is yeah, I literally have increased my gold position, but I like it. I really do like, I'm a big fan of rings, like I don't really wear a lot of jewelry. I don't care about watches or anything like that, but I do like the appeal of a ring. I don't know why. I've always just liked having a ring, but I can't wear this one because if you wear it on this hand, your left hand, it's an engagement finger. So it's like, I'm not engaged. So I can only wear one of these now. Maybe I can get a pinky one to kind of match it, but I've always liked the concept of a ring. And so I like wearing this. It's gonna hit 250 pounds by the time no, dude, I can't eat their food, bro. Their food is, again, Chris was talking about it, bro. Indian food, high in carbs, and like the Indian diet is not the best diet. You just kind of when you get acclimated to that stuff, it can, it can definitely lead to some health problems. It's got to be able to kind of stay on my own path. Yeah, you got a pinky ring, it's a rap pimp status thing. Yeah, I don't know why I don't like watches, bro. I like rings, but not watches. Vlad just tweeted about tokenization. All right, let's see. Again, that France thing is happening June 30th. What did Vlad just tweet? Yeah, great discussions at the Bitcoin conference about tokenization. We watched it, and he basically talked about tokenizing traditional assets. It looks like they're going to announce this, dude, and they're going to really go for this. And so I don't know if the street has priced that in, but when they announce an entire tokenized platform internationally for people to be able to trade like Apple on the blockchain, who knows, man? Maybe that is the next sector of growth for AI. And that would be very productive. So that's what we got with Mr. Vlad. I'm not old, but I clean my kitchen excessively. I clean our kitchen downstairs. I like having a clean kitchen. So I came downstairs to try to clean the kitchen after the market opened, and she was cleaning. I'm like, bro, and you can't. What are you gonna tell her? Like, you can't. Like, she's just like, I'm gonna be cleaning. So I'm like, all right, if you want to clean, you want to clean. Do you know Hindi? Yes, but I suck at it, dude. Like, I know enough to talk about it, but I like when I try to talk about it, it definitely breaks many times for me to like find different words. But I still know how to say it. The Knicks play tonight. Okay, so who thinks the Knicks saved their season today? I don't think so, bro. Dude, the Thunder. It looks like the Thunder is gonna win this championship, bro. These guys are unstoppable. If the Knicks even get to the finals, I don't think we're beating SGA. So I hope we win tonight, but even if we don't, I don't think that's gonna matter in the actual finals. I thought you were Sikh. No, I'm not Sikh. I guess I'm Punjabi. I would say that, but I'm not super religious. So I don't really identify from that perspective. I guess you could just say I'm Indian, and that's kind of who I am. Mid pretending to know about sports, dude. I do know something about sports. I know about the Knicks. I also know when some people are good and some people are, or some sports are, some sports teams are really good, some sports teams are bad. And the Knicks are not really good, but the Thunder is. And if they got to the finals, I think the Thunder easily, and I'm saying that as a Knicks fan, the Thunder would demolish the Knicks in my opinion. So we got to see if they can get there. Call Steve. Okay, let's see if Steve picks up today. He was going to be on the show tomorrow. Steve and I had a conversation last night, and no, I can't call him today, dude. He has this lawyer thing. I can't call him today. Tomorrow he'll be on, though. Tomorrow he'll be on for sure, because we were talking last night. So Steve convinced me of something last night, and we spent about 2.5 hours talking about it. He definitely can't call in today. Like, I'm looking at his text right now. Tomorrow, though, he will be there on the close, because we were talking about it. He was telling me last night that he's going to be a little bit too busy today, but tomorrow, he usually tends to join on Friday anyway. He's going to pitch you guys the thesis, and I agree with him, bro. I agree with him. So what's the thesis? I think I talked about it a lot yesterday. I tried to find the red flag, and there is a red flag, but it's not a red flag as it's a scam. It's a red flag more so in the context of how you philosophically think about it. These yield max ETFs are legit. They are absolutely legit, bro. And I think he is spot on with his analysis about yield max ETFs. So I'm not going to get super into the thesis today, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow. But essentially, all they're doing is selling covered calls against the calls that they're buying on an underlying name. And that's it. And they're generating income. So, like, I went through the numbers last night because the MSTY is paying like 140% in distributions. Is that sustainable forever? Probably not. But it's been pretty good for the past year. They have PLTY. They have a Robinhood one. So they have 49 different yield max ETFs. And I'm looking at them, and I'm like, what are these guys doing, bro? Is this a scam? Like, they have 12 billion in assets. Like, how do they get this much money? And then I realized, what am I doing on Robinhood every week? I'm selling covered calls. What am I doing on NVIDIA? I'm selling covered calls. What am I doing on Palantir? I'm selling covered calls. Okay. I own 100 shares of Palantir to sell a covered call against it. These guys are doing something way smarter. They're buying a call and a put on the same stock, on the stock at the same time to go synthetically long. And then they're writing covered calls against the call and the put to mimic the stock itself. So it's basically like a poor man's covered call, but a little bit more advanced. And without having to buy 100 shares of Palantir, which would cost you like 12,000, they're maybe spending 6,000 to buy the call and the put at the same time. They're hedging their downside in case it crashes, but the covered call also hedges because then you collect all the premium. And they're doing put credit spreads on the upside in case Palantir goes to the moon, because they're not going to capture all of that upside, but they're going to capture some of it because the covered call will cap their profits. So what is the ideal situation to write a covered call on? When the stock is flat, right? Because you're riding the volatility up and down. And so Palantir has been consolidating. HIMS in the 50s has been consolidating. That's why these stocks, writing covered calls on them, not too bad. NVIDIA, even outside of the past like month, over the past week, writing covered calls on them, it's been consolidating. These guys are just doing it at a easier level because they're not buying the actual stock, which is what all the other yield max ETFs do, which is why they're different. The other guys will buy 100 shares of NVIDIA, write a call against it, like SPII, QQQI, etc. Yield Max just figured out a really smart thing to do, which is we don't need to buy the stock. We need to synthetically create what the stock would give us exposure to. And then we just cover our upside and then try to get some of the other upside if we're wrong on the call in and of itself. That's why they're able to pay all these distributions. And so when we were really doing the numbers, I'm like, I'm doing exactly what Yield Max is doing. I'm just doing it on my small Robinhood portfolio. These guys are piling in billions of dollars. And they're buying a ton of Tesla calls and puts, and then they're giving you a distribution of 104%. Why does that make sense? Because they're writing calls against Tesla, and Tesla has some juicy premiums because there's a ton of gamblers willing to buy 380, 390, 370 calls on Tesla when it's at like, I don't know, 330, because Tesla is Tesla. MicroStrategy is MicroStrategy. Palantir is Palantir, right? And so Steve will talk more about it tomorrow, but like as an income strategy, these guys are legit. Now, here's where they're not legit. Okay. So here's where you can really get screwed on these. It's not like the NAV erosion, like a NVDL, right? So the problem with the leveraged funds, like the NVDL, the TSLL, the BidX, is that if the underlying asset stays flat, the leveraged fund goes to crap. So the reason TSLL is moving like crazy is because Tesla's moving like crazy. So TSLL is double leveraged Tesla. That's why TSLL is getting this momentum. But if Tesla was flat for the past month, TSLL would have massive NAV erosion because you're paying a ton of interest on the net asset value of the underlying itself, aka Tesla, and you're rebalancing it every single day. On yield max ETFs, if the stock is flat, the underlying MicroStrategy, Palantir, Robinhood, Tesla, NVIDIA, they're flat, that's good because you're just juicing the volatility for covered call income. You're not actually eroding the NAV. And so it's a fundamentally different way to think about it if the stock stays flat. Now, how do you get screwed on these? This is how you get screwed. It's a very easy way to understand how you get screwed. So PLTY, this is the yield max Palantir income distributing ETF. So this thing was $94 when Palantir was $125 in February. Okay. So PLTY was 94, Palantir was 125. Palantir is now back to 125, and PLTY, as you see on the screen right here, is only at 62. Why is this bad? This is bad because Yield Max is going to keep writing covered calls all throughout the downside because they need to generate income to pay their distributions. Well, if you're writing covered calls when the stock is rebounding, in this case from Palantir going from 60 back to 120, you're completely capping your upside. Now, you're going to participate a little bit in that upside, which is why it's up from 57 to 62 at the very lows, but you're still capping a ton of your upside, right? Because if you own the underlying equity with no covered calls, you would be free to just let the equity go up and you wouldn't be capping it with the calls. So if you buy a yield max ETF at the top of the cycle for a stock and the stock dramatically falls, the yield max ETF will fall. But then if the stock quickly recovers, like we did with Palantir, less than a couple of weeks, Palantir went back from a month, 60 to 120, all the covered calls are going to get destroyed. And the call buyers are going to be the ones that win. So timing is key on these. The difference between this and the leveraged ETFs is that if you buy them, the stock has to move. If you buy BitX, which is 2x leveraged Bitcoin, Bitcoin has to make a move. Otherwise, your BitX is going to erode, which is why BitX was like 64 back when Bitcoin was 50,000. Then Bitcoin went all the way down. Then Bitcoin came right back up. And now BitX is like 45 or so. It should be at like 120 theoretically if it's 2x, but that's not happening because the NAV is eroding. But if you were writing calls on IBIT and you had an IBIT yield max ETF and it stayed flat, you would just be collecting all the premiums. So yes, you can also learn to write your own options. But so that's why I asked Steve. I was like, so wait a second. Why are people investing in them? Why don't they just write their own options? And it's the most obvious answer. People are lazy. People don't want to learn about covered calls. People don't want to do that, right? Like people like something. Not everyone knows about covered calls. People just want to see it's framed as a dividend, right? It's a distribution. So if you get a $2 dividend every month, which is like almost a 10% yield on an MSTY, I mean, you're making 10% a month. You're pretty happy. Now you can do that with covered call. You can make more than 10% on covered calls on MicroStrategy, but you would have to do it yourself. And you would have to be very strategic with how you pick the strikes and all that stuff. And some people are lazy. They don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to do that. On some of my other positions, I do. But if I want to get access to MicroStrategy volatility from a covered call perspective, I don't want to actually buy 100 shares of MicroStrategy and then do the covered calls. That's just too aggressive. So if YieldMax does it for me, now they do have a high expense ratio. I think they take 0.75 to 0.1 to 1.25%. So you are paying about 1.5% for them to do this. But if you're getting paid 10% a month, 7% a month, even if you got freaking 3% a month, like, that's not a bad distribution. So yeah, I mean, like, it really is. I mean, and like, it's a genius idea, dude. It's a genius idea. I was watching an interview with the founder the other day. Or last night. I'm like, damn, bro, like, there's like this thing has as much AUM as NVDL. And NVDL is one of the most degenerate things you can buy on NVIDIA. People buy this thing for the long-term thing. They're going to hold it for 10 years because if NVIDIA goes up, then NVDL will just naturally go up. That's not always the case, right? If NVIDIA is flat, like it was over the past 2 months after it finally broke out late 2 weeks ago, then this thing just eroded. But if it's flat on a YieldMax ETF, NVDY is the NVIDIA YieldMax ETF, then you just benefit from the covered calls and from the volatility there. Do you have a link to the podcast? Yeah, I forgot the guy's name, but dude, it makes a lot of sense. And this guy spent like 20 years in the ETF industry, so it makes sense why he came up with this idea. But I was really like, I was on the phone with Steve for 2 hours. Like, what is the freaking red flag here? There's got to be some red flag. There's got to be a catch. And the only catch is if you get into the YieldMax ETFs at a top and the stock collapses, they are not going to, the price of the YieldMax ETF is not going to recover because they're going to cap your upside. I put the link in the chat. But if you get in, you know, when MicroStrategy is range bound from, let's call it 330 to 400, and you just let it pay you the distributions, you don't even care if the price you're paying for MSTY goes down. Like, that's irrelevant. That's just a mechanism to like if you're buying shares just to write covered calls on them, you don't really care about the share price. You care about the volatility against the stock. And then if the share price goes down, if you're covered enough with the calls, you will eventually be able to recoup those premiums. These guys just do it easily for you without having to worry. You do have to be bullish the underlying, correct? You have to be bullish the underlying. If you're not, then it's not going to work. And if the underlying, like if MicroStrategy goes to $1, then you're screwed, right? Like if you have a dramatic move in the underlying, then you're hit. But you would be hit owning the equity anyway. In this case, at least you get some yield from the covered call premium, just like if you were writing traditional covered calls. These guys just do it through an ETF. So I think it makes sense. How are you protected on the downside? So they also have puts to create that synthetic long, right? So if it absolutely collapses, you're going to get some protection. You're not going to get, you know, all the protection because they're not hedging it to such an extent that you miss out on the upside as well. But they do have some puts to help them go synthetically long. But nonetheless, if Pouncer takes like a 50% retracement, which is what we saw in February, like, yeah, it's going to get crushed. It's just Pouncer recovered so quickly. But if you bought it when it was $60, yeah, if you bought Pouncer stock, you would have done better because Pouncer's up 100% since then. But if you only cared about the distributions, the covered call premiums have been amazing on Pouncer because it had all that volatility. It just had so much upside in the volatility that owning the stock was probably better than writing the covered calls. But not every stock does that. And that's why I think these YieldMax ETFs do make a lot more sense. So yeah, sorry, they write puts. Sorry, I'm saying they write puts. They also buy puts as well. So they write puts to be able to create the synthetic long, but they also buy puts. Not a lot of puts, but they do buy some downside protection. So you're covered to an extent. But remember, the most of the downside protection is the covered call, because if the stock falls, the covered call goes to zero and you collect all the premium. But based on the prospectus that I was reading last night, it's really, dude, it was like a 12-page thing. I was reading through it. I was like, damn, these guys are like finding different ways to make sure you're protected on all fronts. Now, if stock falls 50, 70%, they can't fully protect you. But there's at least some hedge against the volatility. The covered call, though, is what you care about. So if the stock does go down, as long as it's down below the strike price, that's all you care about. Like, let me show you guys an example. So if I pull up PLTY on Robinhood, it tells you exactly what they own right now. So literally, this is what they own. They own Treasury notes. They own the 7/28/115 call. That's 26% of it. They have a put as well at 115, right, to create that synthetic long. They have a call for a leap for January 2027, right? So like they have a bunch of different things to be able to get you the upside and protect a little bit against the downside. But their main goal is for the stock to be flat so they can benefit off the underlying. I know this is like really high level stuff, and I said I was going to talk about it with Steve yesterday, and I know I just kind of went on a rant for 20 minutes about it, but yeah, that is the explanation of it, and I think it's genius. I really don't think it's a smart thing to do. But you know, it's also, if you just don't care about writing your own covered calls, then you kind of just invest in these ETFs as well. 95% of retail will not understand how to use yield max. Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing: you don't need to know how to use yield max. You just buy it and you get the distributions. That's it. Like if you're bullish on an Nvidia, if you even know what a covered call is, this is just a covered call ETF. That's it. Now, obviously, you should understand the mechanisms of it, but the point is, the reason they're attracting so much capital is because people just see the dividends and the distributions. And my assumption 2 weeks ago was, oh, people are stupid. They're chasing yield and they're being degenerate gamblers that are just like buying into like yielding assets. And there's got to be some catch to get 140% distributions. And then when you read it, it's like, no, they're just writing covered calls and they're not owning the equity. So they don't have to use that much capital to be able to protect against, to cover the quote unquote calls. And they're just paying you distribution. That's it. And with MicroStrategy dissolution, it will keep the stock relatively the same. Yeah, so that's the I'm so happy you said that. That's the interesting thing. MicroStrategy diluting is hilarious because Saylor's just going to keep the stock at bay. He's not going to let it pump to the moon. So MSTY is just going to keep raking premiums off the covered calls. And as long as MSTR just stays flat or slightly down, maybe goes up a little bit, but doesn't explode to the upside, boom, your distributions are always going to get paid. Again, there's a lot of nuances to how this plays out. And, you know, there's macro stuff, black swan event, credit crisis, all these different things can affect these strategies. But the point is, if you're bullish on the market and you want some income, it's not like these are the craziest strategies. So yeah, that's what I talked about last night. What happens if you buy options on PLTY? Well, see, this is where Steve and I could. Last night it was hilarious. If you really want to be degenerate, you can write covered calls on the covered call ETF. So you can buy PLTY, which is already giving you a distribution, and then you can write a covered call against it to get another distribution because there's people that are buying calls, so you can sell them those calls on the yield max ETFs. I don't know why people are doing that, but they're doing that. So I wouldn't recommend buying options on any of the yield max ETFs because the goal of them is to stay flat. And when you buy an option, you want the stock to go up, at least a call. So I would not think it makes sense to buy a call on like a PLTY because it's supposed to be range bound. But there are people that are paying for premium. And so you can literally sell a call against PLTY, which is hilarious. So options on yield max is purely degenerate. That's exactly what Steve said last night. It's purely degenerate to be able to have a covered call ETF and then write covered calls against it. But if you're able to do it effectively, then you know it could work as well. Art of Teaching, thank you for the $10 super chat. Amit, wouldn't it be more advantageous to buy the leverage ETF and sell farther OTM calls, better upside and more flexibility where you sell calls? Yes, however, if the stock doesn't do what it needs to do, like a Tesla, then a TSLL, although your calls will print, right, because you'll generate that premium, your underlying will erode completely. And we've seen this time and time again. We've seen this with BidX, we've seen this with NVDL late last year, and then we're seeing this with TSLL before Tesla had its like crazy jump over the past month and a half. So yeah, you could buy the leveraged ETFs and sell calls against them because that's when the volatility is also high. But if Tesla goes flat for the next month, then the call premium will be good, but your underlying will erode, right? And that could be the downside as well. So yeah, that's what I discovered last night as well. All right, is that it? We got no other stuff going on in the market right now. Do we have any headlines after hours? Anything crazy? Again, relatively tame day. Nothing wild. We had all the tariff back and forth stuff, but you know, nothing really changing from there. What did you guys do? Did you make any moves today? Did you buy anything, sell anything? I don't think I did anything. So kind of just chilled out. Covered calls. I wrote a bunch of covered calls on Robinhood like a week ago. Those are printing. My sister has a bunch of covered calls at 70 on Robinhood. Those are printing. Nothing else too crazy. You bought SoFi. Dude, Tanner, Steve, and I, after the NVIDIA earnings, we were just like staying on the stream together afterwards. And we were talking about SoFi. I don't know if you guys have seen SoFi Weekly, but Tanner and Steve are just going back and forth like cat and dog about is SoFi a tech company or not, yada, yada. And yeah, we did that for an hour again yesterday after the NVIDIA earnings stream. And yeah, Tanner's convinced that SoFi doesn't really need to be a tech company to get a multiple. He thinks that their growth alone is worth it. This is one part where I agree with Steve, dude. SoFi's already trading at 2x book. SoFi's already trading at the same tangible book multiple that JP Morgan is trading at. It's already got a multiple. Like, it literally already has a multiple when you look at how banks get a multiple. Now, if you think it's a tech company, then it should be getting an even greater multiple, but that's where the debate goes in, right? Is it a tech company or not? So, I don't know, dude. If they don't change that tech company narrative, I have my calls. I haven't sold my calls, dude. $15, $20 spreads. I am hoping that by the end of July, we'll at least get to 15 and I'll be able to get some money on them. I'm up like $8,000 on them. But if it goes to 20, I'll be up 50 grand. And I don't want to sell right now because I do think the upside is there. I'm just hoping that, there's a narrative shift. But I'm also skeptical that there's going to be a narrative shift towards it. I mean, dude, we've had a pretty good bull market the past 2 months and SoFi's done not much. So how much more bullish does sentiment need to get? Do we really need the rate cuts to try? Like, I don't know. And so I want to give it another quarter. I'm going to give it another Q2 just to see, is this going to still play out the way it's playing out, or can we really get some momentum? But also, you tend to get a Santa Claus rally based on a lot of the charts we looked at after an election year. So I also think SoFi could get back to that $17, $18 range in December, even if it doesn't get to 20, and then the calls would still be worth, a lot more than what they're worth today, or the spreads. So I still think holding on is not crazy. Yeah, and the premiums are destroyed. So TJ was talking about this yesterday. The premiums on SoFi used to be amazing. It was one of the best stocks in the market to wheel. That's why TJ had 150,000 shares of it, because he was wheeling it. And now the premiums have been decimated. The volatility is just gone. I think because people have stopped caring about it. And that's also what's been hard to buy the stock, just to sell calls against it as well. U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission decides to dismiss lawsuit against Binance. Court filing shows. So this happened a couple of days ago, right? Trump told the SEC to disband that crypto task force. Maybe this happened a week ago. And basically, the part of the SEC that was dedicated to finding fraud in crypto and like vehemently going against it, Trump fired all of them. I think it was a week and a half ago. It might have been on Monday. So yeah, I think it's the wild, wild west for crypto now, which is super bullish. Hood and Coinbase, Binance, all these names. Obviously bullish for Bitcoin and MicroStrategy, but it does not, obviously very bullish for the Trump meme coin. It looks like crypto is going to be able to do whatever it wants over the next few years, and there's not really going to be that much stopping it from a legal perspective. Dude, Uber. So we didn't talk about this yesterday because we had NVIDIA earnings. Uber was down 4% because Tesla said robotaxis are coming soon. You guys know Gary Black sold out of Tesla. He's done. He sold out of Tesla. For those that don't know Tesla, he is the he is one of the hedgies, or the institutional money managers that's like really made a name for himself in the Tesla community. Everyone hates him, but like at least the Tesla bulls. But he's always been in Tesla. And officially yesterday, he got out at 358. And he's really bullish Uber. So Uber's down today, but nonetheless, he's out of Tesla. His logic was it's overvalued. They're going to have weak deliveries, and their new vehicle is not going to be inspiring enough to create massive levels of growth. So it's going to be interesting, bro, to see if selling at 358. I know a bunch of people sold at 250, 270. Obviously, they missed the pump to 358, 360. Is this the right move? Like, is selling at 358 before Austin Robotaxi launch the right move? Because it could be a dud, bro. It could be a sell the news. It could be a hit. But it also could be the beginning of their exponential growth curve. I'm going to put in the chat, will Gary Black be right for selling Tesla at 380 or at 358? Now, granted, if the market doesn't tank, I don't know if we see Tesla back down to 215, 220, but still, he would need a 40% decline to meaningfully get back into when he originally started buying. This is the first time in like 4 years he doesn't own Tesla anymore. Why doesn't he short? Well, I think, shorting Tesla, shorting Palantir, those are scary things to do, just given, they can keep going up. But he's definitely not adding to his exposure at these levels. Thank Martin for quantum today, for tanking quantum today. Dude, I listened back to it a little bit. I'm going to post the full thing later. I thought it was a good interview. I thought it was good. So the thing about what's his name, Shkreli, is, as you guys can see, he can talk a lot. I will officially say right here, he can yap more than me. I mean, like, I had to literally interrupt him to switch the topic. He can talk for hours. This is why he probably streams all the time like me. But I went into one of his streams today. I haven't been into his streams in a while. Dude, he doesn't talk a lot in his streams. It's very like silent. I'm like, dude, if you guys were in his streams all day, like you guys, I don't know if you guys would be able to handle it because he's kind of like quietly mentioning things here and there, but it's just like a very chill, lo-fi type of vibe. And my stream, it's like, I'm like, if I'm not talking, it's like something's going on, right? I have to keep putting out words into the world. And so for him, it's very more chill out and relax. But the point is he can talk when you ask him a question. So I thought it was a good interview because although he rambles, I think there was a good structure of a variety of topics to kind of keep him on task when he was rambling. But also his rambling is really good because, you know, he knows about a lot of stuff and can talk about a lot of stuff. And the way he philosophically thinks about companies, even if you disagree with it, I think is interesting. So although he rambles, he doesn't really go off topic. It's just he's talking about so many topics. But I think listening back to it, it was like a good structured way of getting his thoughts on a lot of different topics. He's a storyteller, 100%. And boy, does he have a lot of stories as well. When he said, I know a little bit about fraud. And so I was like, dude, that was there's some moments that were hilarious. But so him talking about quantum. First of all, I don't know why the quantum bulls are triggered by this. You guys are winning. Like, this is the most confusing thing. I think so some of you guys were like so upset that he settled. I'm like, dude, you guys are up like 1,000%. He's borrowing money to be able to cover his short. You are winning. So if you are scared about what he said about quantum and you are feeling this level of insecurity or anxiety that you heard a contradictory opinion to what you believe about quantum, maybe you don't believe in it that much. Maybe you don't. Because you can't get that triggered over someone saying, like, if someone says I short Palantir, I'm like, okay, cool. I don't get triggered. I don't really care. Like, go ahead, short Palantir. I disagree. That's fine. We can disagree. That's what makes a market. But if you genuinely get triggered about it, it's like, where's your conviction? Where's your conviction here, you know? So to me, it's like, it's not that big of a deal, bro. Like, you have to hear the opposite perspective. And, you know, it is. And you're up. You're up. Like, if you bought this thing at $3-4 and he shorted it since $3-4, you've been making money. He's been losing money. And so unless you think that your gains are going to, disintegrate because it's all based on a lie, then I don't know what there is to be upset about. If anything, you probably want to hear the other perspective. Now, granted, I don't know a ton about quantum to be able to check him on everything he said. I think I tried to check here and there. I was like, hey, what about MasterCard? What about Toyota? There's all these partnerships, yada, yada. I'm not the biggest quantum guy in the world. I also didn't want to debate him because I kind of don't care that much about it. I just wanted to get his perspective. So I think, I tried to say, how leveraged are you? What's going on here? He's down 53% year to date. He's actually pretty damn transparent about his, but he's down 53% year to date. And this is supposed to be one of the smart guys in the investing community. The quantum people are up like 500%, 700% year to date. If you got in the early January or late November 2024 range for these quantum stocks. So from that perspective, either he's going to be wrong or he's going to be right. And it's going to be really fun to see how this plays out. Because if these quantum stocks go to zero, he's going to make a lot of money. And if they don't, he will lose a lot of money. And he's borrowing money now to be able to bet against these names and really try to ride them down 95%. And who knows, bro? Maybe these quantum names stay elevated for the next 5 years. Like, we have no idea how this is going to play out. But I just thought it was an interesting perspective to hear what he had to say. Now, what he said on Palantir as well, I thought was really cool, dude. Like, again, Martin is a value investor. Like, he's not a growth type of guy. He looks at DCFs. He does a lot of calculations from a value perspective. The fact that he said Palantir is not really, it's expensive, but it's not really like egregiously overvalued. Oh my God, it's going back to $30. Like, that was not his sentiment. His sentiment was, hey, if they keep up the growth, they can be a $10 trillion company. And I think that means a lot coming from someone like him who looks at growth at a very granular basis to try to figure out what is the intrinsic value of a company. And so the fact that he shorted NVIDIA yesterday over Palantir, even though it was a small short, or the fact that he even thought about shorting NVIDIA over Palantir when one could say Palantir is egregiously more expensive than NVIDIA, means he has a lot of respect for Palantir, and he believes that they can put up the growth. When he's wrong, he's confidently wrong and fully committed to it. So there's that. I agree. And on Palantir, he talked about CARP, and the other thing that was interesting is he compared it to Google back in 2006, which I don't hate that analogy, dude. Like Google in 2006 after IPO was expensive. TJ, he bought Google in 2005 on IPO and he sold it in 2006. And if he had held on to it, he would have been, I think it was like a $10,000 investment at the time. But I remember he was telling me about that. But even he sold it because it was getting expensive. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you really do have a long-term trajectory on Palantir, there will be ups and downs. But if it is kind of Google circa 2006, then maybe this company has a lot more momentum to be able to go higher. Amit, any connections to invest in Anduril? Okay, so first of all, for everyone who messaged me on Apptronic, I responded to you. So if you messaged me a couple days ago, I told you guys that one of the funds I'm connected with had a opening for Apptronic, which is raising at a 2.25 billion valuation on the secondary markets. They are trading at a 50% premium from 1.5 billion. But if you don't care, then you had access to that. And I emailed pretty much everyone who responded to me to be able to get an allocation. So if I have more of those, I will let you guys know in the future. Anduril, I don't have. They were raising Anduril last year, and I got one of you guys into Anduril, but they're not raising Anduril anymore. However, again, this is the company. If you want to get access to Anduril at whatever price and you kind of don't care, HIIVE, Hive. This is the website that sells shares on the secondary market. So Anduril, OpenAI, all that stuff. Let's see if they have Anduril listed right here. Yeah, I'm not logged in, but as you can see right here, it was updated literally at 5:05 p.m., 7 minutes ago. You can see the highest bid, lowest ask, last transaction, and live orders. So if you're an accredited investor and you really want to get access, there is a way to get exposure through some of these platforms. Again, you're going to have to be paying a hell of a premium compared to what other people are paying. But if you want to get in now before they go public, then there at least there is a way. So yeah, that's the platform that I would use to check it out. Is Mrvl going green after hours? I think it was down 7%. Are we switching green? We are slightly green. 0.85. Where's Micron? Micron's still slightly red, and then NVIDIA still flat. 0.34% down after hours. So there you go. Yeah, SoFi is also doing this thing where you can invest in SpaceX and some other companies through like their Templeton private SPV thing. So that is one good thing about SoFi, right? You can invest in some private companies via their platform. And so, yeah, there are a lot of ways to get exposure. There are a lot of ways. You just have to pay a premium, if you're trying to get in. Paying a 50% premium doesn't make much sense. Well, look, Apptronic, I got to invest in them in their bridge round last year. I don't know if they're going to win in humanoid robots. My bet is that they'll be number 3 behind Figure and Tesla. Maybe they're number 5, even if they're number 10. And this is a multi-trillion-dollar market. The last raise was at 1.5 billion. That's when Google invested 90 million. You're getting to buy it at 2.25 billion. If they're even number 10 in the humanoid robotics sector over the next decade, they're probably worth more than 2 billion, right? They're probably closer to 10, 15 billion just based on the sheer nature. I mean, Figure's worth 40 billion right now. Apptronic's at 2 billion in the private market. So I understand why people would pay that premium. Is it aggressive? Sure. Is it worth it? Probably not, given the company doesn't have revenue and all that stuff. But if you're just buying it based on where they will be a decade from now, then 2 billion is a steal. It's not going to be 2 billion if they win. They could fail, like startups fail. But I think that's why people, want to pay that premium. Do we see NVIDIA gapping up tomorrow? No. I think NVIDIA, dude, it was a good quarter. I think it stays flat. I think it consolidates here. I wouldn't be surprised if we get up to 145, 150, but I think it chills out in this 135, 140 range, and it chugs along as we get through the summer. Summer's going to be volatile. I don't think the summer is going to be straight up. I think it'll be straight up in July, and then August we'll get some weakness. September always is weak. And then October, we hopefully get the precedent to get into a Santa Claus rally. And maybe end of year, we are seeing S&P 500 closer to 6,500. But don't know if that gaps up tomorrow. Yeah, Benioff is following Palantir. That was funny today. So Benioff on Twitter followed Palantir. I don't know why. I don't know if we're going to get a little bit of a collaboration maybe. But yeah, he followed our little friend Palantir right here. Who knows? Maybe Salesforce. Maybe Salesforce Palantir collaboration that we're going to see. Why is Dell dropping? Well, I can tell you why Dell is dropping without even knowing why Dell is dropping. Every time on their earnings, they get on the call and they say something that pisses off investors. And last time it was about their gross margins. I'm pretty sure this time, if their margins still suck, even though they raised their revenue guidance by $4 billion, that's probably pissing off investors. And so this thing was at 125. Now it's at 115. There's the red candle right there. It's probably something they're saying about margins right now. That usually tends to happen with Mr. Dell every time here. What else? What else do we have? Can you guys believe it's going to be June, bro? Can you believe it's going to be June? Like, I cannot believe it's going to be June. I just can't believe it. Are you accredited? Yes, I'm accredited. Mick getting into coke again. No, dude, I'm actually low key. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm a little sick. I think yesterday, this is what happens on these big streams, bro. I talk a lot and then I have a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. Like my throat really hurts right now as I'm talking. So I probably should take some NyQuil and go to sleep tonight. I don't have any podcasts or any meetings or anything. Actually, I do at 6:30. So after that, I can go to sleep. But on these big streams that last for like 4 or 5 hours, and then I did the daily recap last night, so I had to do some more talking. Like, it just drains you, bro. And I know it's just sitting and talking, but like when you're, sometimes when you're flexing your voice that much, it starts to hurt. I need to really like take care of my voice, dude. I like ginger and all that stuff that people like. I need to basically act like I'm a singer, because I'm talking more than a singer sings every day. And I need to realize, like, if I don't have my voice, I can't do anything. So that's why I'm getting a little sick, and that's why I'm like touching my nose and blowing my nose here, because that's how it feels. And then you sleep late at night because you're up, and it's like, but this is what earnings season is like. Earnings season, as soon as it starts, it's like 1 month of just madness because there's just so much to cover. And sometimes that takes a hit. Amit, did you buy Hims again? No, I sold a put on Hims. I was Skrelly. I didn't expect him to say he's out of the stock. I didn't know he was out of it. I thought he was long, but he had the same thing I did. You bought it low. I bought it at 30, 28. He bought it at 30, and then he sold it high because it moved like it doubled. He sold at 60, and now he's not in it again. And I kind of feel the same. I'm like, dude, it ran up like crazy. I sold it at 40, but still, I don't necessarily know if I want to get into the 50s. Now, if we get a month or 2 months of consolidation here, I wouldn't mind, because now I'm like, all right, I think there's a base. But although he thinks it's really undervalued, he's not buying it here. And that's probably because he thinks it might need a little bit more of a breather when it comes to Hims. My son is graduating high school tonight. That is awesome. Shout out to Sports Moments. Congrats to your son graduating high school. I remember my graduation, and I was just happy to be done with high school, bro. Like, I was so happy to just be done. COVID, we didn't have a real graduation because COVID was like, we couldn't do a graduation in college. But high school, I remember. And I was happy, dude. 2016, it was done, moved on in life, started to take a bunch of risks, try a bunch of stuff, and we're out into the real world. So high school was how many years ago? Dude, we're coming up on my 10-year anniversary on high school. I think I was in a Facebook group the other day, and someone texted, hey, when are we doing the 10-year anniversary celebration? And I'm like, dude, that would be crazy. 2016, yeah, so 2026, that'll be 10 years. Yeah, playtime is over. Time to be an adult in playtime. That's facts, bro. That's facts. It's like, literally, you are just graduating into losing money to the government. That's what it's like to grow up. You get more autonomy and independence to try things and be accountable. And if you're ambitious, you just go out there and the world is your oyster. But you also have to pay some taxes. Amit, to use Hive as well? No. So I invested in Figure through an SPV, special purpose vehicle. And I invested in Aptronic through an SPV as well, special purpose vehicle. So I got in directly through an SPV. I haven't used Hive, but I know like Derek uses Hive. Like a lot of people use Hive. So it's a very trustworthy platform. It's just the investments I've been able to make, I've got through indirect contact. Also, I'm investing in another startup. It's a crypto startup from my boy, Mateo. And I should have him on stream one day to talk about this. He's ex-Palantir. So he was one of the first people I met at Palantir back in 2023. And he's a really cool guy, super smart guy. He was the first engineer at the AIP bootcamp in Chicago back in, was it May of 2023 or something like that? So he left Palantir earlier this year, and he started his own company. So I'm putting $5,000 in that crypto startup. He's also trying to do like this tokenization stuff that Vlad's doing. And, I don't need to go through Hive for his stuff because that's just a direct contact. But if you don't have the direct contact or you don't have the SPV, that gets you. When an SPV is like a derivative from a direct contact, it's not literally a direct contact, but it's like close enough. Then you use a platform like Hive. And the only reason I'm investing in his startup, by the way, I believe in him. He's super smart. He's awesome. He might be listening right here because he tunes into the streams. He was laughing like crazy when Skrelly was on the stream this morning. The reason I'm investing in his startup is because if he takes this thing to $1 billion, it's worth like, I think 50 to 100 million right now. I'm going to be pretty upset because he's going to get rich without me. And so you cannot let your friends who have an idea that are super ambitious and super smart build something and then pass on investing in what they're building just for the sheer bragging rights, dude. Because if this guy actually takes this company to many, many multiple billions in the crypto space, and by the way, he was in crypto in 2016. Crypto has always been his passion. He went to Palantir because he's just one of the smartest people ever, and so he kind of did a detour with his life going into Palantir. But he always wanted to build in crypto, so now he's finally building in crypto. Like if he actually pulls this off and makes another little Coinbase or something, I need to participate in that. There's no way I'm gonna see him 10 years from now and get dinner and have him just smile at me when he says, hey, remember when you passed up on the offer? So is 5K going to get you that much ROI? It could be $1, bro. It's not even about the money. It's about participating in your friend's success. Like if you have that doesn't mean you invest in everything your friends do, right? Sometimes your friends might have some stupid ideas, but if your friend is smart, ambitious, most startups fail, but if you think they have somewhat of a chance of succeeding, you just throw something at it, bro. This is what I did with Apptronic. I invested in Apptronic because Derek told me he was like, hey, dude, like I'm investing in it. So just like throw some money in it, right? Just see what happens. And then I got to meet Chris Camillo and, develop a relationship with him. And I called Chris on the phone. I told you guys this. And Chris was like, yeah, dude, I'm putting a lot of money in. I believe in them as well. And I was like, all right, you guys are investing. I'm investing. It's pretty much that simple. And, Apptronic is now 5X for me from that investment. So that one is done pretty well. But imagine if I passed just because I was like, ooh, the valuation, or ooh, I don't really know what they're doing. It's like, no, dude, like in startups, you're supposed to lose your money. So like you're lucky if you get anything back. And if you get anything where you get some level of social pattern recognition with people that you trust are also putting in some money, which is not that different from the public markets. It's just public markets, you have audited financials. Private startups, it's like, hey, let's see what happens. You throw a little bit of money in it, and you kind of see how it plays out. So I mean, dude, if you have a friend who's building something, you throw something at it. You just throw something at it. If you really do also believe in them, it's not the worst idea in the world. Amit, do you think options are a better way to invest than just buying stocks? And how could people outside of USA buy options? No, I think buying stocks is a better way to invest because, again, options are more about trading, not investing. So 1000% no, the better way to invest, like actually invest, is buy stock. And then people outside the USA buy options. It's difficult, right? Because some countries don't have sophisticated brokerages that meaningfully allow you access to the derivatives market. Some of them do. The United States has a very sophisticated one. But yeah, you kind of look at what options are available in your location and see if they give you access to it. But if you don't, then I think selling options to me is a way to help your investing journey. Buying options, it's a way to ruin your investing journey because most people suck at buying options, including myself. I just happened to get some option trades right over the past couple of years, particularly with Robinhood. But that's because I had high levels of conviction. And I also got a bit lucky that Robinhood was able to like 4X in a year. That doesn't normally happen. And so, yeah, I would say buying stock is the best way to overall invest. Where do you get your Palantir merch? I love the sweatshirt. Okay, so this is a one of one that my boy Iliano gave to me. By the way, I'm going to be seeing Iliano in DC. I'm going to be at the SCSP. I have a nice podcast coming out at SCSP with someone from Palantir. I don't want to say who it's going to be, but it's going to be someone pretty cool. And I think it's going to be a very, very good discussion that I have with them. It's not Carp, it's not Sean, but it's someone really cool. So I went to this last year. This is where I met Carp for the first time. This is where I met Iliano, who is the person who started the retail merch store. The retail merch store is going to be coming back in the summer. So I don't think this exact sweater I'm wearing is going to be there, but there is going to be the retail merch store again. It's just a question of when it launches. And Iliano posted this yesterday, a little bit of typography right here showing what it looks like. Everything's going to be made in the USA, and it looks like it's going to be pretty cool. Now, last time he launched the merch store was when Palantir was 25. Now Palantir is 125. So I do think the demand for the merch store is going to be massive because people have literally 5x their money since we launched the merch store, or since Iliano launched it. And as a result, I think it'll be pretty cool. And hopefully we'll get some more fresh merch for the Palantir community. Amit, are you not a fan of dividend investing? No, I'm a fan of it. I just I like making my own dividend via covered calls a little bit more than the dividend investing itself. But there have been there have been plenty of names that Steve has been talking about, which is why I like, Steve's perspectives. His at name on Twitter is literally dividend streams, right? Altria Group, Energy Transfer, Kinder Morgan, SLG, that stock paid a dividend and it went from freaking 19 to 70. Like he's had some major dividend winners. And yeah, I'm a fan of dividend investing. I just, I don't always invest in them just because I'm more younger and I want to be in growth. How's the process to become accredited? So again, in America, there's different financial laws. In America, it needs to be $1 million net worth or 250,000 yearly income. That's pretty much it. I mean, as long as you meet those requirements, then you can be accredited. In Canada, there's like some different laws, but yeah, that's the one in the United States. Give us pink. Okay, I don't think Ileana's going to come out with pink. Probably not, but that would be kind of cool to see some Palantir pink merch. I think it's going to be cool merch that we haven't seen before. It's not just going to be hats and t-shirts. It's going to be like and you guys know Andrew launched a merch store as well, and their merch store is actually really cool, bro. Like look at this thing. Even look at the design of the website. It's like really cool. And they have all these different ways you can like bid, and they have like one-of-one collections and all this stuff. It's some really dope stuff. So I think he's trying to do like drops, like, you know, Supreme and all these hype brands, they do like drops and it's like limited time edition stuff. So I think there's going to be a ton of that and a variety of different ideas for what merch will look like. Dell pump completely faded. Where's Dell? I think you are right. Dell. Yeah, it's barely up 1%. It's gone. It is gone. Matt says, I used to be a strictly dividend-focused investor, time and place. Honestly, if you have less than 500,000, focus on getting your port upsized. Yeah, dude, the thing about dividends is everyone wants that yield, but you need to have money to make money from the yield. So if you're trying to like grow, which all of us are trying to do, then getting the net worth up there, which some, might just take longer, is important. And it might take even longer if you do it through dividends, because you're just not getting a lot of growth, right? You're getting a yield and it's safe, but is it really that safe if it's taking longer to get appreciation? Like, there's not many dividend stocks that would go from 86 to 140 like Nvidia, and so that's why Nvidia gets the amount of volume and momentum that it gets. And that's why the option markets are so juicy for a company like Nvidia, because people want growth. And if you don't get that growth, it's tough to navigate it. Let's look at the top options traded today. So, wow, Nvidia, 5.7 million contracts. Holy crap, dude. Tesla, 1.9 million. Apple. Why is Apple number 3? There's no news on Apple today. Maybe the tariff stuff. Palantir, number 4, 512,000. MicroStrategy, 511,000. Corey, 502. C3 AI, 487. GameStop, 464. AMD, Amazon, iBit, Mrvl, Google, SMCI, Uber, Boeing, 300,000 contracts. EOSE, I know a lot of you guys know about that one, 263. Meta, Marathon, and UNH. Those were the top 20 stocks traded in the derivative markets today. So that's what we got. That is what we've got. All right. Is that it, folks? Are we done for today? Are we done? I need to sleep tonight, bro. I need to go to bed. We are finally done with Q1 earnings. Just GameStop casually doing 150% volume again. Yeah. It's a bit aggressive. Did anything else happen today? I don't think so. I think it's been, we wanted Nvidia to have a big day and it kind of did, but like that's pretty much. Oh, I guess the Skrelly thing was big today. It was very random, but that was fun to do. Bessent was at the Financial Literacy Conference with the FLEC, Financial Literacy Education Commission. Bessent just looks like a teddy bear, bro. Bessent looks like one of the nicest guys ever. Like, literally, bro. Look at this guy. He just looks like a nice guy. He was probably happy yesterday when the court struck down the tariffs. Bessent does not like tariffs. Stanley Druckenmiller is his mentor, and Druckenmiller hated tariffs. So I think Bessent liked 10% as a max amount. So I think somewhere yesterday he was cheering on the courts, but obviously Trump was gonna bring back some of those tariffs. So there we go. Can I braid your arm hair, please and thanks? Ever since I was younger, people have asked this question. I don't know why my arms are so hairy. Someone in the chat today, they were saying like, oh, does Amit have tattoos or is that hair on his arm? Because it was like seems so aggressive. I've just always had hair on my arms. You know, I told you guys the story a while ago. Some of you guys that are new to the channel, you might not know about this. But when I was in 3rd grade, the kids were making fun of me for having hairy arms. Because even in 3rd grade, my Indian genetics led me to have some hairy ass arms. I'm a 3rd grader. And so I went home and I told my mom, I was like, Mom, can I shave my arms? My mom looked at me, bro. I was in 3rd grade. I will not forget this. I cannot make this up. You're gonna act like I'm making this. I cannot make this up. My mom looked me dead in the face and she said, "Stop being a bitch." I cannot make it up. And from that, she was like, "Stop being a bitch." She's like, "Why do you care what they think about your hairy arms? Like, you got hairy arms. You're not shaving your arms." And they're like, she's like, "You're not gonna freaking get shaving cream and shave your arms." I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm just gonna have hairy arms forever then." And I basically do. I have hairy arms, and I don't think they're not ever gonna be hairy. So it was one of those life lessons, bro. I'm telling you, like I was in 3rd grade, and my mom said that to me. She did not care, and you know, it kind of speaks to my mom's ability to give me a thicker skin. Because yeah, it's really good parenting, right? Because like she could have like capitulated and been like, "Oh, you know, my 3rd grader's feeling bullied or whatever, so I'm gonna like let him change parts of his body." And she was like, "Dude, why do you care about what other people think? Like, move the hell on. Like, this is who you are. You got some hairy arms. It is what it is. You got some hairy arms." And I think that has, you know, been a pivotal part of my journey. Honestly, I'm not even joking. I really do think that moment in life, because I don't know if I was getting harassed or anything, but I just remember every kid would come up to me and they would be like, "Your arms are hairy." I remember this explicitly. It's a core memory in 3rd grade. And I got so upset. I went to my mom about it. And she said, "Stop being a bitch." I don't even think I know what bitch meant in 3rd grade. But I remember this, bro. She was like, "Stop complaining about this shit. Like, it's not, you know, it's not the end of the world if you have hairy arms." So yeah, ever since then, I guess I stopped caring about it. So there you go. You would have used so many razors and shaving cream over the years. Big money. Yeah. And now I did start shaving in 9th grade, like when I got to high school, because then I started like really, like I started legit getting a beard. And so I started shaving in 9th. Now I don't shave anymore. Now I just get like my hair done. But dude, I got my hair cut on Sunday. Look at this thing, bro. It's already growing back. It's ridiculous, bro. It's like, I guess I should be more grateful that my hair is growing, because there's going to be a point in my life where it doesn't grow as much, but it is insane. And I'm going to DC on Sunday. And so I need to get another haircut, even though I got it last week. And usually I wait 2 weeks, but like, I don't want to go to DC with, you know, with it being as, I guess, scruffy as it is right now. And so it's one of those things genetically. My hair grows super, super fast. So I grew up a Republican. No, dude, both my parents voted for Harris. My parents are not Republicans like that. My dad said he was going to vote for Trump. He comes back from the voting booth. I was like, "Who'd you vote for?" He's like, "I voted for Harris." I was like, "Why?" He was like, "I think Trump's crazy." So like, I don't think they were politically active when I was growing up. Like, they didn't care that much about it. There was never a imposement of Democratic or Republican values. But as they grew older, you know, they started paying attention to. I think both of them voted for Obama. Both of them voted for Biden. I'm pretty sure both of them voted for Obama twice, and both of them voted for Harris. So, Indians do tend to be a little bit more Republican, though, unless you live in a really liberal spot. Like if you live in like Texas and you're Indian, bro, you're voting Trump. Like you're voting Republican. But if you live in South Jersey and you're Indian, you're voting Trump as well. Now, if you live in North Jersey, you live in the Bay Area and you're Indian, you're voting Harris, right? You're voting Democrat. So a lot of this is geographical. Maybe if we grew up in Texas, they would have been more Republican, but we grew up in New Jersey, you know, which was definitely a lot more liberal. So yeah. Mint has not totally evolved from the gorillas, dude. That's hilarious. That's a good one. Ji-hoon, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate it, Ji-hoon. Thank you for being here, and thank you for becoming a channel member. Dude, we got June coming up in 2 days. It's kind of crazy. I'm traveling a decent chunk in June. I don't know if I'm still going to that Robinhood event, guys. Tanner, Roy, and I have not really gotten an invite yet, so I don't know if we're going to be at France. We might not. I'll let you guys know if we end up there. But next week's going to be a lot of traveling. I'll be in DC, and then it'll be somewhere after DC on Wednesday that you guys will find out about next week. Another event coming up, so you guys will see that. And then maybe France in June. July, I think we're not doing any traveling at all, which I kind of want to stay home in July. And then in August, I think we're moving out, so that's a big one. And then Miami in August. So I think next 2 months outside of next week is going to be a little bit more chill on the traveling. And I would really like to spend some time with my grandparents at home as well. But yeah, August we have the meetup. SoCal's in September. We're doing SoCal in September. We're doing LA. And so some people are saying Orange County. Other people are thinking like West Hollywood. I don't know. I gotta figure out where you guys are located. We're not gonna do San Diego. San Diego is a little bit too far from LA, but it's gonna be more in the heart of Los Angeles, and I'm excited for that. I think I've been to LA. I think I've been to LA at least 75 times. I've been to California a lot, bro. I've taken that flight many, many times to LA in the Bay Area. So I am relatively familiar with the area. The first time I went was 2015 to California. So I think that'll be exciting. And that'll be a fun one. Santa Monica. Yeah, I think Santa Monica also will be a good one to do the meetup in as well. That's a little bit closer in the middle of this stuff. But then, yeah, see, a lot of you guys are in OC. I went to OC back in June as well. Like last year, I was in OC for the first time. I was meeting someone there. So yeah, maybe we do OC. We'll see. When we get closer to the date, we'll figure out when London. So I think hopefully London end of the year. Again, I was going to do it in June, but I really didn't know my grandparents were coming. I found out like 2 weeks ago that they're coming from India and they're going to stay with us. So I really don't want to leave in the middle of them being here. But I think maybe there's a world like November, December, it could happen. If not, then early next year. I think next year the goal is to do the international. It's to do Singapore. It's to do Germany, the UK, do some of those other states like a Chicago, and a Texas, obviously. So 2026, the goal is to get those as well. SIEGEJH. I definitely don't know how to say that, but thank you for becoming a channel member. I appreciate that. When Partyville. Again, Partyville, as you've told us, Spencer, months ago, is in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin. It's like 2,000 people that live there. I don't know if we can really do a meetup. That would be kind of fun, though, if like a bunch of people came to the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin for a meetup. That'd be kind of crazy. So who knows? Maybe one day. But it's going to be tough for people to get there. When Dubai? Okay, so I don't think I have a lot of people in Dubai that watch the channel. I mean, maybe I got to go through the analytics, but that's a little bit more complicated going to Dubai. I feel like if I go to Dubai, it's got to be a trip. Like it's got to be one of those trips where I like really, explore Dubai. I've always wanted to see the Burj Khalifa though. My family, I couldn't go back my senior year in high school, but they went during spring break. And so I never got to see it, but they saw everything in Dubai. I would love to go. I'd love to see Dubai. Florida, again, Miami, likely in August. I don't know if we're going to be doing Utah, although I've been to Utah. The mountains there, incredible. Been to Salt Lake City. When is the housewarming? Dude, I would love to throw a party in the apartment one day. Even if just like some of you are in the area, that would be super cool. But I don't know. We got to see. And we got to see how we do it. But that would be fun. Is Tesla down after hours? Tesla's down about 0.5%. I don't know if there's any news. Everything's kind of down. Dell's back up 1.5. Oh, Nvidia's down 0.5%. Is the S&P dropping? S&P's down a little bit as well. Let me see if there's any headlines, but we do have some of these names dropping after hours. Dude, I got to figure out how to decorate this apartment too. Like at this point, it's 2 months away and I have no idea how I'm going to like make this apartment look really cool. So I need to set a budget for myself and then figure out what exactly I need to buy. I want it to be dope though, bro. I want it to be like if someone visits or they chill, like there's all these amenities for them to experience, right? Like my boy Gerg, when I was staying at his place in Toronto, like he had this fridge that opened up and there was like 100 different drinks you could get. There's like sodas and Red Bulls and beers and all this stuff. And it was like in this fancy like cooler. It's like, I want stuff like that. Like I want it to be very hospitable. So when people come over, especially when like podcast guests come over and stuff, that it's like a really chill vibe. So yeah, it would be fun. Ask ChatGPT. Dude, I use Grok more, but like AI has become such a big part of my life. I wanted Grok. So when Trump and Powell the headline came out that they were meeting, and then the District Court of Appeals repealed Trump's tariffs. I asked Grok to make a picture of President Trump and Jerome Powell on a seesaw, and I didn't tweet it, but like this is what it came up with. Like, this is crazy, bro. This is insanity. It legit looks like Trump and Jay Powell. It is just, look at them. They're on a seesaw together. That's crazy. This is only going to get better and better and better and better. Compute and tokens are going to be in the many, many hundreds of trillions. Microsoft did 100 trillion tokens. Google did 50 trillion last quarter. Like this is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're going to see more momentum for NVIDIA. I love abusing Grok. Dude, Grok actually answers your questions. I told you guys the other day, I asked ChatGPT to do some stuff and it was like, no, that's inappropriate. I went to Grok. I was like, hey, can you do this? Grok was like, sure. So the uncensoring part of Grok is very nice. And honestly, it does make me use Grok more because sometimes you don't know if ChatGPT is going to answer your question. So yeah, I'm using it a lot more. Did someone say OC meetup? Yes, we're thinking maybe LA, maybe OC. Don't exactly know, but we're going to figure it out. Apparently a lot of you guys are in Orange County, so maybe we do somewhere in the middle. Is Irvine in the middle of like West Hollywood and Orange County? Also, I mean, they're not that far away from you. How far is West Hollywood from Orange County? How far is West Hollywood from Orange County? It's like, I bet it's an hour drive, max. It's an hour, 30 minutes. Okay, that is kind of far. That is a little far. I feel like Santa Monica would be the perfect spot in the middle. Long Beach is in the middle, kind of. Long Beach is kind of in the middle. Maybe that ends up being the spot that we do. But I will. Oh, it's in OC. Oh, okay. Oh, my bad. That makes sense. Okay. Okay. So yeah, Irvine wouldn't be a midpoint, but it looks like Long Beach or maybe Santa Monica, which is not really in the middle, but it's kind of a little bit closer. We'll figure it out. I'll have to plan all this stuff in the summer, but yeah, Santa Monica is definitely closer to West Hollywood. That's for sure. Look, if most of you guys are in West Hollywood, we'll do that. And then everyone in OC is just going to have to drive over. But if most of you guys are in OC, then I don't really care. We can do it anywhere. I just want to make sure it's easy enough for the majority of people to get there. Anaheim is a midpoint. It's a little bit closer to Orange County, it looks like, than West Hollywood. But yeah, that also might not be the worst idea. I'll bring my girlfriend. She's jealous of a mitt. Oh my God, dude, a lot of you guys bring your girls. You bring your wife, your fiance, your girlfriends. And it's great because it's just like, I just ask them, like, are you annoyed that I'm in the background all day? And they like, no, like we've become accustomed to you. And so it's actually really fun to just like see how they think of their significant other engaging in the markets. Because most of the girls that have come to the meetup that are like fiancés or girlfriends, they don't really care that much about the stock market. They're like getting more into it, but they don't care that much about it. But I think they're happy that their husbands or boyfriends are taking control of their financial destiny, right? Like, dude, girls don't want to be with someone who's broke. Like, it's just like it's just the truth, right? Like, I don't think girls want to be with someone who's broke. And more importantly, girls don't want to be with someone who doesn't have the potential to change their financial situation, AKA they're not ambitious. That doesn't mean they have to start the next Facebook, but that also means, that, hey, if you're not doing anything to try to increase streams of income, like you just become more unattractive. I feel like that's and I think for guys, a little bit different with girls, right? Because guys are a little bit more of the provider, even though that is changing more and more. But I think in today's economy, a girl does not want to be with a guy who A, is not making a lot of money, but B, they don't see the potential in him making a lot of money. And so when these people come to the meetup, I think the reason the girlfriends want to come is because they're excited that their husbands or boyfriends are like taking control of the investment accounts and saying, hey, babe, like we're going to figure out how to pay our mortgage using the stock market. We're going to start making investments. We're going to start planning for retirement. Like that stuff I think is incredibly attractive to women because like they want to be taken care of. So I think that's the reason they come. And that's the reason they enjoy being there as well. But it's really fun, dude. It's really fun because it's just fun asking them how they think about, the fact that their boyfriends stare at a guy for 8 hours a day and listen to him ramble about anything. So there you go. My wife thought I was cheating, so she video called during the meetup to make sure. Oh my gosh, dude. That is hilarious. That is so funny. Yeah, because it is kind of weird, right? You're like, hey, babe, I'm going to do a meetup. Dude, have you guys, this is going to be pretty like nerdy of me. You guys are going to make fun of me for this, but I don't care. Do you guys know what's going on with the Ace family and Catherine? So I'm not going to get super into it right here, but Catherine and the Ace family built the biggest YouTube channel for families 10 years ago. They were making like literally $50 million a year just off YouTube. And apparently her husband was cheating on her the whole time. Some of you guys might not know this. This is like 2017 YouTube vibes, but she just did a podcast with Call Her Daddy, 5.1 million views in a day. As you can see, the red on the bottom of the video means, yes, I was maybe watching a little bit of it. But the point is, she was like, they were a power couple, so rich, so famous. They had 3 kids. Dude cheated on her with 20 women while she was pregnant. I mean, it's pretty incredible, dude. It's pretty freaking incredible. So I think another reason, like the reason I brought this up is because you said your girl thought you were cheating when you were at a meetup. I remember her talking about in the podcast, like, you know, like her man was going to these events and stuff, and she unconditionally trusted him, and he was cheating the whole time. But I think part of the reason the girls come to these events is because they also want to see, like, hey, what is this? What's going on, right? Like, what is this community you're building? They probably also want to see, hey, are you cheating on me here? So they want to see that. But also, I think they actually care that their men are taking control of their financial destiny. See, Gene is a bad person. Rookie number. See, this is why we can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things, bro. Can't do it. Can't do it. This is why. This is why we can't do nice things. Nothing like telling people you're meeting a bunch of randoms off the internet in Vegas. Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, dude, if I was a girl and my man told me, hey, I'm going to Vegas to do a meetup with some YouTubers, I'd be like, what are you actually doing, bro? Like, come on now. So I can understand how sus it is. But then when you come to the meetup, it's actually really fun. You know, and it's a bunch of nerds, bro. It's literally a bunch of nerds just freaking talking about the markets. That's basically what it is. And all of us are so excited that we actually have people to talk about it with. So it's cool, dude. It's cool vibes. It's really, really cool stuff. I'm happy we did this year. That was a big goal this year of like, let's make this happen. And it was fun. Amit, did you do DECA in high school? I did not. That's the business thing, right? I did debate. I didn't do DECA. Vegas, we're doing in October. Most likely in October. I turned 28 in October as well. Maybe we do it in that. When is my birthday? Is it on a weekend? I think it's on a Sunday. It's on a Monday. So maybe we do the 24th weekend in Vegas because my birthday's on a Monday. Maybe we do that. We'll see. But yeah, I think we do Vegas in October. And we'll do LA in September. And then New York, New Jersey we'll do in November, December. So very cool. I think we all live and breathe the stock market. I agree. Dude, we're all junkies, bro. Literally, freaking Tesla's down 0.5% after hours. We're like, what's happening? Like, that's not normal. This is not normal. Tesla's down 0.5%. What's happening, right? It's like, that's one could argue it's unhealthy, but I would argue that it is the level. This is what I tried to tell those high schoolers when I was talking to them. You need to be so obsessed to the point where, look, you could either just invest in auto DCA and whatever, that's fine. But if you really want to get some life-changing gains, I don't know anyone who isn't obsessed with the markets because they're trying to figure this shit out. It's complex. It's hard. Skrelly was talking about it today. It's not easy to beat the quants and beat the hedgies. So you got to kind of get a community. You got to get your own style. Some people day trade. Some people sell options. Jason, swing trades, buying options, right? Everyone has their own strategies, but crowdsourcing all that information to find a HIMS at $10 or a Robinhood at $7 or a Palantir at $6 or even a CoreWeave at 40. Like these are things that help you beat the market. And it's not easy. But I do think there's a level of obsession that is needed to even have a shot to get a chance to do that. You could join the Holes Mars catalog Palantir space. Yeah, I'm not doing that, dude. He invited me to that. See, this is let me let you in on some inside game, bro. This is where Amit the creator is going to come out here. This is where you need to protect your brand, okay? This is where you have to protect your brand. So he invited me. Look, I like Omar. He's a good guy. I don't think he's a bad person. He's a big Tesla guy. He invited me to this. This is not just the Palantir bull bear debate. This is a Palantir bull bear debate with Prospero-AI. I don't know what the hell Prospero-AI is, but you're damn sure that they're getting sponsored for this space. I can bet you like a lot of money. I would be willing to bet. I would bet at least $5,000 that they're doing this space with a company that is trying to get attention. And if I join, given I have a very big audience on Twitter and I'm like the Palantir guy, then I would bring more people to that space and there would be a lot of attention. I'm not saying I need to get paid for that or anything. I'm not saying like I need a cut. I'm just saying I don't know what the hell Prospero-AI is. So why the hell would I join that thing if it looks like it? I mean, how does that not look like it's sponsored by Prospero-AI? This is where I think I have done a very good job as a creator for not falling for this stupid shit. People, I don't know how much they're paying them to do these spaces, but I'm not going to participate in it because I don't want to attach my brand to that shit. Like I don't even know what this website is. It's probably some AI stock website. It's like, why do I want to be associated with that? And why do I want to give them attention? I think as you get bigger in anything in life, you have to be very delicate with where you put your attention. You know, and wherever you allocate your attention, there will the bigger the brand has gotten, the more I've seen people want to suck more out of me in terms of money or attention or influence or whatever. And it's not one of those things I'm complaining about. It's one of those things that comes with the job of growing a brand. Like you're going to get a lot more people that care about you for the influence versus about you as a person. It's just the nature of how it is. But I've got to be smart to not like fall into those traps. I don't know what AI company that is. What if the company goes bankrupt? What if they are scamming their customer? Like, you know, it's like you can't be associated with that. And I think so many people, they just like forget about that part of the long-term vision of their brand and they take the quick check or they fall into these stupid traps. And then they have their brand associated with all this dumbass shit, which is what all the YouTubers did with FTX. Dude, even Joseph Carlson, as much as I love him, FTX gave him a bag and he got sponsored by FTX. Now he is way better than a lot of the other YouTubers that took that bag because he's actually a good person. He genuinely thought FTX was a good idea. I think the other ones knew that it was a scam, but they still took the money. I remember when that saga was going down, dude, they were paying $50,000 a month. For those that don't know, they were paying $50,000 a month. I didn't get that offer, but I was close to a lot of people that were getting that offer and that were taking that offer. And then when FTX went bankrupt, they had to give back all the money. But you just got to be really careful. Really, really, really careful. So Graham Stephan, yeah, dude, Graham took FTX. Dude, look, I don't hate any of these guys. I don't have a vendetta against any of them. I'm just saying that a lot of these guys are money hungry. They will take the biggest check they can possibly get. They will not really give a shit about the audience or the impact on the audience. They will not care about building a real community that actually can meet people in person and have meaningful, authentic discussions. Most of them don't even make money from the markets. Like I made way more money from the markets this year than I made off YouTube. And I think like that's how it should be. I want that to always be the case. Like my investing should be making more than what I'm doing here in branding, especially because I'm not really monetizing YouTube. I'm not taking any sponsorships or anything like that. And so they have to do this grifting shit. Dude, there were so many people at the meetup. There was at least 4 or 5 people that came up to me and said, I used to listen to Meet Kevin. I couldn't do it anymore because he was offering me a course every 5 minutes and I switched to you. And now you're the guy I listen to every day. I mean, dude, like he's just like willingly giving up market share to me. Like it's almost like if you're gonna act like that, it's like if you're gonna have crappy software, you're gonna give market share to Palantir. If you're gonna be a crappy person that's just constantly trying to sell people on shit, not saying you shouldn't sell. I'm not against capitalism. You should make your money. But there are certain ways to do it that are not just weird and scammy and ill and stuff like that, right? Like, and so when you do it that way and you do it unapologetically, and you kind of really just don't care about the fact that people are listening to you, you just see them as eyeballs to monetize. You know, people, I think people are starting to realize, at least in the YouTube finance space, that is not attractive anymore. And so they're looking for alternatives. They're looking for alternatives. But yeah, that's why I'm not joining that Twitter Spaces, dude. I would be, if he wanted to talk about Palantir in general, I would be down to talk about Palantir with him. But is Prospero-AI? I don't know who the hell these guys are. Like, why should I join and then give them a ton of attention? And what, just to talk about Palantir? It's like, no, I don't need to do that. Like, I've done that for 4 years. Like, what's the real? And the other thing is, if he actually respected my ability to join the space, he would tell me, hey, this is a sponsored space. Do you want to show up to it? Right. But the lack of disclosure that it's most likely sponsored and they're making money off it, to me, is just scammy. It's like, what, you think I just need to spend some of my time talking about Palantir on a random spaces? Like, no, dude, I've been doing this for 5 years. So the fact that you're only doing it because you know you're making a bag off this and you're trying to use me to get to your bag because I'll bring attention, it's just not it's not the route that I want to go down. But that's also why AK Media doesn't make any money. AK Media is never going to be a public stock because it doesn't make any money. It doesn't generate those level of juicy sponsorship deals and stuff like that. But dude, I really don't care. But so people were asking me at the meetup too. They were asking me to they were asking me what's your long-term vision and monetization, all this stuff. And I have a bunch of different ideas. I'm thinking of different things, but the long-term vision is forget the long-term vision. I get to perform every day. I love this shit. Even if I lose my voice every other week, I absolutely love this shit. And that is more than enough for me. Maybe that's more than enough, dude. Do I want to make a lot of money? Do I want to get rich? Of course. But there's other ways to do it than having to go the route of $5 a month. It's just ill. It's just dude, be more original. Figure some shit out. Yeah, making money is hard. It's not easy. The markets are hard. It's not easy. Building a brand is not easy. Networking with people to the point where you can get access into Apptronic at a $250 million valuation, and now it's worth $2 billion is not easy. But if you just freaking try and figure it out and don't go down the easy route, which is sponsorships, brand deals, all this shit, then it's much more rewarding. It's just so much more rewarding. And that's why I do it. That is why I do it. All right. How long have I been yapping? 2 hours. This is what happens on a day when there's no news. What's the last thing we talked about? Last thing that was market that we talked about was at 42 minutes. And I think we probably talked about it for 10 minutes. So that means from 52 minutes on, it has been yapping. But that's okay. Because hopefully there's some value in the yapping. AK Media is like the quantum stocks. It will never make any money. Oh my gosh, dude. Steve will be on tomorrow. Watch the Knicks tonight. I should. Well, I don't have anything to do tonight. I should watch the Knicks. Yesterday was NVIDIA. I had a bunch of stuff. I don't have anything to do tonight. I think I should turn on the Knicks and see what they're doing as well. When is your uncle coming on again? Dude, hopefully soon. He's been pretty busy. I was talking to him this morning. He loves when I make fun of my sister, bro. So as soon as I made fun of my sister in the morning, he texted our family group chat. And he was like, hey, your brother's making fun of you. And then she texted me and she was like, what'd you say? I was like, I told them the truth and nothing but the truth. She's like, why do you talk about me on your live? I'm like, because I need content and you are a gold mine for content because you say some of this shit, bro. She's like, oh, what's NVIDIA? I really wanted to throw my freaking phone yesterday. I was like, you have 800 shares and you're up a lot right now after hours. And then she's like, well, why isn't it up as much as Palantir? And I'm like, because you got Palantir at 20, not 120, like NVIDIA. Like the nerve, the audacity she had to say that. It was just hilarious. And so those are great stories. I have to bring those to the audience, dude. It's peak content. Peak content. What is the betting on Hood for the Knicks? How much are they paying a contract? Is it 50-50? No, the Pacers have to be way more expensive, right? New York game 5. Oh no, 61 cents the Knicks, 40 cents the Pacers. Okay, so that's actually not 50-50, but still. I don't know, dude. I want the Knicks to win, but I don't know, dude. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see if they can actually do what they need to do to get there. It's the same when someone mixes politics when the chat is not about politics. Yeah, I agree, dude. And remember, we talk about politics in conjunction with the markets, but I don't care about you guys believing in what I politically believe in. Because quite frankly, I don't have a lot of political beliefs. I have philosophical beliefs that may be intertwined with politics, but I'm not a politics guy. I'm a markets guy. And so when we cover politics, it's because of an impact on the markets. Is NVIDIA still, Tesla's down 1%. NVIDIA's down 1%. Why is that? Why are they down? Mrvl's down 2%. D-Wave's down another 1.4%. S&P is relatively flat. Oh, the futures just opened. Dude, we are really junkies, bro. Why is Tesla and NVIDIA down 1% though? That feels a little, I don't know. Maybe just selling after hours or something. Futures are green, but they're also flat. No, futures are red. Okay, futures are red. But still also flat. HDuff8ABAHDubB. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate it. I have no idea how to say your YouTube username, but I appreciate you becoming a channel member. June 1st sell-off. Do we get a sell-off? Is the market? Let's ask Grok. Does the stock market tend to sell off in June? Let's see. Grok says the stock market doesn't consistently sell off in June. Historical data shows it's up about 0.1% from 1950 to 2023. Okay, so we basically are, if this, if it's going to be consistent with historical patterns, are going to be flat in June, unless we get any volatile events. How's the gym going? Okay, so I was in the gym yesterday before NVIDIA earnings. I think that's another reason I'm sick, bro. So in May, I went to the gym for like a week and a half, and then we got into big tech earnings, and then I slacked off on the gym. Went to the gym this week on Monday, skipped Tuesday, and then went yesterday on Wednesday before NVIDIA earnings. And I got back. You know why NVIDIA started? We were supposed to start at 3:30. Started at 3:35, and I was texting Tanner, and I was like, yo, I need 5 more minutes. It's because I was coming back from the gym. I think that's another reason I'm like a little under the weather. It's because I haven't like worked out in a long time. And this week I worked out twice. And I'm actually going back to cardio because I really do want to get back into cardio. Because in the beginning of May, I was only doing strength training, mainly only my arms, not my legs. And now I'm just like, dude, I want to get back to running. Like I used to love running back in September. By the way, speaking of running, I got to show you something. I used to, in September of 2023, I went from 160 pounds to 140 pounds. I lost 20 pounds. It was realistically from July 2023 to September 2023. I lost 20 pounds in 3 months because I was burning 1,000 calories every time I was on the treadmill. I was like, I loved running. And then something happened in 2024. I don't know what, I talked about this on a stream a while ago, and I stopped enjoying the process of running, which I've loved my entire life. And I don't know what had happened. My answer, or my like kind of psychoanalytical perspective here is that I think my ADHD has gotten worse and my mind is moving so fast every day. And I'm like constantly on Twitter, and like, so it's hard to just like be in a zone and run for 50 minutes like I did back in 2023, because I think my mind's just moving too fast. Maybe that's a bullshit excuse. Maybe it's not, but that is why I think I stopped running in 2024. And 2024 was a lot of traveling. That's not a good excuse either, but it really was hard to be consistent. But I got back in this week, and I ran pretty aggressively. I did 500 calories, which is not the usual 1,000, but I did 500 calories. That's like 40 minutes before NVIDIA earnings. And then I was destroyed after NVIDIA earnings, dude. I talked for 4 hours, just ran 500 calories after not running for basically like a month. My legs were hit. And then I just woke up this morning feeling like shit. But what saved the stream this morning as well, I mean, it was a good stream. Nothing was wrong. But like Martin Shkreli coming on really like helped the energy get back, because I was just like, I really was not feeling the best this morning, bro. But like, I'm not going to take off just because I'm like feeling sick from working out or whatever. But then Shkreli pops on, and then it's like, boom, baby. We had a good guest for 2 hours to just keep talking. But yes, so I want to get back in the gym much more seriously. I don't think I'm traveling in June and July at all. And so before I move out into my new apartment, I really do want to just get back to that healthy mindset, especially with food, and which food I've been a lot better on, and working out, especially because the gym and the cold plunge and everything in the apartment is great. Like I'm literally going to be able to go up a couple floors and freaking have access to some of the best equipment and private sauna, all this stuff. So I want to kind of get into that routine going into August. So speaking of running, someone posted this today. Okay. Chad posted, after a couple years of being forward deployed and accelerating outcomes by 500x, our 22-year-old engineers are going to look like this. And then Patrick, shout out to Patrick, he tweeted at me. He said, hey, Amit, you probably don't know what movie this is. And literally in the morning, as I'm waking up, again, I feel like shit. I see this tweet, and then I just I'm half asleep. I respond, he's running, so it's Forrest Gump. I promise you, I didn't use anything to look this up. And then apparently I asked Grok. Grok said it was Forrest Gump. I was so happy, bro. The fact that I made a connection that the guy is running, and that's why it's Forrest Gump, incredible. I think you guys should be really proud of me for that. I'm pretty proud of myself for that. I still haven't watched Forrest Gump, but I know that Forrest Gump, like there's this line, right? It was like run, Forrest, run, or whatever. So the guy was running. I was like, okay, maybe it's Forrest Gump. I really did not expect to get that right, but I did. So there you go. I don't do gym anymore, just home workouts. I can't stand paying memberships. Dude, our treadmill downstairs is like, you go speed 5. I usually go like speed 5.5 to 6, maybe 6.5. You go speed 5, and the thing, like, it starts trembling, and it's almost like you're skipping over yourself as you're running. So I had to get a membership, because we have weights and all that stuff downstairs in our gym, but like, I just feel like in a gym, in a proper gym, if I have to drive there, I'm a little bit more motivated to just like go and do my workout. And then B, our treadmill downstairs is like, you can basically go speed 5 and below and it's okay. But if you go above that, it just starts like trembling and stuff and it's weird. So that's another reason I signed up for a gym membership as well. Christina says, wow, you're still here. I just finished the Gap earnings call. I'm definitely buying the dip. I'll look into what Gap said. That was a pretty nasty 15% sell off. So I'll see what they're saying. But yeah, we've been yapping for 2 hours. Amit, are you real and not a prompt from VO3? Okay, so I'm not a prompt from VO3, but dude, that thing is crazy. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen some of these VO3 freaking videos that they put out, but it's getting pretty wild, bro. Like, it's getting pretty wild. If you just search it on Twitter, there's so many. Here's one that I saw yesterday. There's a lot of them that we're getting.
An endless line built up in New York City. Let's ask the people, why are they standing in line?
The line is too long to see what is at the end, so I don't know why exactly am I standing in line.
I'm pretty confident it's the new iPhone. Sorry, the new PlayStation.
I don't even care. This is New York, baby.
You know what they say?
Is this not crazy, bro? Is this not actually crazy?
The first rule of standing in line is you don't talk about why you stand in the line, right?
I thought this is the line for the pharmacy. Now they say it's for a stupid phone.
My wife said it's Tuesday cleaning day, but I was like, nah. I have places to go, so.
We are just trying to get home and didn't want to skip line, but we might do it now.
Me and my boyfriend got in the line a few hours ago because he wanted to, but got into an argument, so.
I'm a French tourist and don't know what is going on, but it's in my blood to stand with others and encourage them.
I always wanted to go to Katz's Deli, and you are saying this line is not for Katz's Deli?
I'm just here to help the brothers. A good brother is always there.
My master always told me the true test for your patience is a product launch day in New York City.
Okay.
Dude, that is insanity. And then this was another one that went viral about a kangaroo. It was a kangaroo that was not allowed as a support animal on an airplane, and it went viral. People really thought this lady was trying to bring her kangaroo on the airplane. And it's AI, bro. It's not trying to bring a kangaroo on the airplane. So it's just, dude, it is absolutely insane. But yeah, that is the world we're living in. This is what we got right now. Is Bessent on Fox? Is Bessent on Fox? Let me see. Let's see if we can get him. Is he on Fox? No, I don't have him on Fox Business. I don't have Fox. I'll see if he's on the other Fox. Is he on regular Fox News? He is. Okay, here we go. Bessent, baby. Say something good, Bessent. Say something good. Here we go. Here's Bessent.
I think that we're going to run larger deficits pretty clearly as far as the eye can see. And we're going to have more U.S. Treasury borrowing. So I think the big risk on the macro right now is actually not so much tariffs.
John Waldron, obviously Goldman Sachs. Your thoughts on that and that concern?
I would disagree with John. And the tariffs are not separate from the budget because while we will not be able to score tariff income for the CBO scoring that we'll see as the bills come out of the, or as the bill comes out of the Senate, we are taking in a substantial amount of tariff income. So, they are not separated. And I'm not sure exactly what John meant because I believe that the deficit will be smaller this year than it was last year. It will be smaller next year than it is this year. So we will be running deficits. We didn't get here in the 120 days that President Trump has been president this time. We inherited the largest peacetime, non-recessionary deficit in history. And this debt has been built up over time. And I think by the time President Trump leaves office in 2028, we will have come back to the long-term average. We will have stabilized the debt to GDP, and that number will be going down.
Obviously, there's critics up on Capitol Hill. Conservatives don't think this bill cuts enough. You seem to be suggesting that the growth element of the equation is going to help lift the country out of the concern of deficit and debts.
Well, that's exactly it, Brett. And look, there are two parts here. And when I look in the mirror in the morning, I see a deficit hawk. So I'm very sympathetic to some of the senators who want to do more now. But again, we did not get here in 1 year. We can't solve this in a year. We are going to land this plane well for the economy, for the American people, and that is going to be done through a combination of restraining and cutting spending and growing the economy, because too big of cuts and the economy would slow down. So, nobody wants that. And then, of course, the ultimate calamity, Brett, would be for nothing to happen and for us to have the biggest tax increase in U.S. history, which would kill growth and balloon the deficit even beyond the Biden years.
Elon Musk is officially leaving his special government employee status. It was set to come to an end. As he leaves, Doge is looking at about $175 billion of cuts that they've found, and the administration is going to send forward, we're told, a $9.4 billion Doge cut package to Congress next week. And it's trying to make good on promises to slash government spending. However, obviously, that's well short of what was projected and what was talked about at the beginning. How do you characterize that as Musk leaves and where Doge is right now? Obviously, it's not finished all of its work.
Look, I think Elon came in and in 100 days did some very important work. And I'd characterize two principles with Doge here. One is the absolute level of cost cutting, which Elon has set in motion. So Doge is not going to end with Elon. It is a way of thinking about cutting costs. And it's also a way of thinking about making the government more productive and more efficient. So, I would expect that these would be the initial savings, and they will continue from here. At Treasury, we have incorporated several members of the Doge team. They have become the fully trained, fully compliant Treasury employees, and they are going to be working continuously to ferret out waste, fraud, and abuse within the government system. So I think that the meter is going to keep going with these savings. And then on the other side, we're going to deliver a better product to the American people. Because Brett, I lived in New York, I lived in Florida, and state of New York spends about $235 billion a year. State of New York spends about $235 billion a year. State of Florida spends about $125 billion. Both states have approximately the same number of people, but Florida doesn't have an income tax. And I can tell you, having lived in both, it's better not to have an income tax, and Florida gives better services. So we want the U.S. to be more like Florida, less like New York.
I want to ask you just two quick things. One is about, as we put up the NVIDIA stock today, NVIDIA is seeing this big boom as obviously they had a great negotiation out in the Middle East. And also the focus on AI is benefiting that particular company as well as others. When you look to AI, where do you see growth potential? I mean, are we talking a point here in GDP?
Well, I've seen estimates that the AI spending is driving U.S. GDP by up to 1%. But I think the bigger story, Brett, can be that the increase in productivity that we're likely to see kick in over the next 12 to 24 months could add another percent to GDP. So we saw that in the mid-90s as probably 10 or 15 years of IT spending finally kicked in and became productivity growth, just as we're seeing this massive AI spending that is the construction portion is adding to GDP. I think within the next 12 or 24 months, we will see a big productivity jump that will also add to GDP.
Well, that'd be fascinating. We'll watch it all. Mr. Secretary, we appreciate the time.
Good. Always good to see you, Brett.
Thanks.
All right, there we go. That was Mr. Bessent trying to calm down the markets and basically say, hey, we will figure out this GDP growth. We will figure out Doge. He doesn't really like Elon, so I think he kind of doesn't care that Doge is gone. But trying to basically say we're not going to run up the deficit with this big, beautiful bill as long as we're able to grow. Rory and Stocks, thank you for the $50 super chat. Rory was at the Boston meetup. Thank you for being here, man. He got into Fannie and Freddie when they were like $1. And the stock is up a lot more than now. I know that Palantir partnership probably got you really excited yesterday seeing that. That was wild, bro. That was to see them make that partnership. That was pretty incredible. So you must have had a kick out of that, given you've been following Palantir and you've been long Fannie and Freddie. Rory also brought his wife to the meetup, so it was super cool to ask about her and her perspective on the markets and all this stuff. Rory works in tech. She's an attorney, so these guys are a power couple. And, I supported him when I asked, hey, how'd you guys meet? And he said, I was at a college party and had a bunch of girls all over me. And she, broke through all the girls to come say hi. Like I reinforced that story as accurate when he was telling me the story with his wife. So definitely shout out to Rory. She might've disagreed with how the story was, but I took Rory's side. I think the story sounded pretty truthful for me. So shout out to you, man. Thank you for the $50. And yeah, Fannie and Freddie, been a hell of a trade this year and very nice to see them working with Palantir now as well. All right, cool. I got to go. I got a meeting at 6:30. I got to do some more stuff, and then I'm going to sleep. I think maybe I'll watch a little bit of the Knicks, but we'll be done for today. Tomorrow's Friday. Back on the market open tomorrow. Steve will be on the close. I think we'll have a Palantir Weekly tomorrow because we haven't had it for 2 weeks. We had a lot to discuss. So Palantir Weekly will be on tomorrow. And the Martin Shkreli interview, for those that didn't see it on the market open, I'm going to put it on the channel tonight. So I'll have the timestamps and all that stuff so you guys can watch it later tonight as well. All right, cool. Thank you, everybody. Hope you had a good one. I will see you guys tomorrow on the market open. Love you all. See you guys later tomorrow. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.